All right, and we are live.
Hello.
All right. If y'all knew what we went through to try to get this stream set up, but neither here nor there at this point. I'm just waiting and see who shows up because I realized that I haven't gone live in like over a month.
That's okay. You've been working.
That's true.
Busy.
I have been working. This time of year just always gets me. And actually, real quick, let me make sure I share this to Blue Sky now, because that's where I do most of my streaming now. Or not most of my streaming, most of my posting now is on Blue Sky.
Okay.
But Blue Sky, while there's a lot of benefits to the channel, they haven't quite caught up to the point where you can go live on Blue Sky. So I got to take this link, share it over there, and then we can hop into everything. I know you said you watched parts of the game yesterday.
Yes. So I was working during the game. So
surprisingly, as we were trying to get all this set up, I didn't even ask you, like, just overall, what were your thoughts on the ending? I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings.
I was upset about the ending. Of course, like everyone else, I am a big optimist when it comes to the Cowboys. I thought that they were going to pull this one off. So for it to end the way that it did, now I'm not going to blame that one play because one play doesn't lose ball games. But I know as a professional, there's an expectation there. I hate that he made that mistake, and the Cowboys certainly already were having a terrible season. So it was just a bad play.
I agree with you on that. So let me ask you this, because you said that you were expecting them to win that one.
Yes.
So there were a lot of people who thought they might do well. Like, there were basically two different camps. There were some people who were like, the Cowboys are trending in the right direction. They have what it takes to win this. There were also some people who were more like, no, the Bengals scored too many points. There's no way the Cowboys offense is going to be able to outscore the Bengals. What were your thoughts, like, considering those dynamics of the conversation?
Like I said, I'm optimistic, but being that it seems like, okay, the Cowboys, we have Rico Dowdle, and I feel like that was a for sure thing on offense for the Cowboys that we had going. And we started getting a few of our key players back. So that's what made me optimistic. Like, okay, we can get back into a groove. I feel like the game against the Bengals is where Cowboys will be able to show face and actually put up a fight.
Yeah. So here's what I was thinking going into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get into what actually happened during the game. What I was thinking going into the game, I was like, the Cowboys can win this, but I knew that they would need help from both defense and special teams in various areas. Right. Hi, Chris. And also, hi, William. Nice to see both of you here in the chat participating. By the way, if you are watching via some other platform like X, which we can talk later about why I'm not on X anymore, why I'm not active there anymore. But please come over to YouTube, join the conversation, make sure we can see your comments, whatever compliments, comments, questions you might have for us. But yeah, I knew it was going to have to be a game where all units helped each other. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw what we were getting from the defense, I wanted a little bit more in terms of sacks. Yeah. But like once the pick started, I was like, okay, this is actually winnable. That's when I started to believe it, because I did not think that the offense alone would be able to get it done. No. What I also didn't expect was for the blunder to come from special teams. Now, I was at John Fossil's press conference earlier, and his press conference hasn't been shared. So, I'm asking for forgiveness as opposed to permission here, mainly because like last week, they never shared his press conference at all. And so this week, I don't know if or when they will, but I mean, it was a whole ass press conference. All the media was there. So listening to John Fossil talk about the situation kind of made me look at it differently.
Okay.
But also kind of not. And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into what he said. Okay. And see what you think about it. So the part of what he said that made me think about it differently was he kind of referenced the fact that things can get crazy on special teams, mistakes happen, basically saying this wasn't the first time a mistake was made. It wasn't the first time. It wasn't the last. Yeah. Hey, it happened. Mistakes happened during the game. Mm-hmm. And it kind of got me thinking, like, okay, had that blunder happened in the middle of the game, would people have felt the same way about it? And while it might have stuck out in people's minds, people probably wouldn't have been so hurt by it.
No.
The fact that it happened when it happened at a point where people were like, oh my God, we could actually walk away with this win. We could come away with this win. I think that made it stick with people a little bit more.
Yeah.
But John Fossil does have a point that he wasn't the only person who made a mistake that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't the only person to ever make a mistake on special teams.
Right.
So if you take that moment, you put it in a vacuum, yes, it does kind of seem like people are overreacting to AO. However, I do think those things matter. I do think the moments matter. I do think the situations matter. I do think when you are in a situation where what you do on a particular play could make or break a situation, it does matter.
Yeah.
So while I see where John Fossil was coming from, and I don't want to make it sound like AO is the worst person in the world, I do think the lack of awareness, that was a bigger moment, which called for more awareness, not more of a pass on the parts of fans and on the parts of commentators. I feel like that's a situation where players should play up to the level of the moment,
Right.
not where fans should bring their expectations down to
Yeah.
some average that doesn't account for the moment at all. What do you think?
I think earlier Jerry Jones, he kind of straddled the fence on that without completely saying yay or nay one way or the other. He said, basically, our players are coached on this. They're coached to run away from the ball. And he said the ball bounced into, and he didn't say his name, but he just said the ball bounced into our player. And I don't disagree with the call on this play. So that coming from Jerry Jones, I feel like that was kind of just him not taking.
Wait, he said the ball bounced into the player?
He said the ball. Let's see. Put it in here. He said,
you can pull it up on here so we can, if it's online, we can share it with our viewers.
Find it online. He said it on 105.3 The Fan.
Okay.
But he said the ball bounced into our player.
Do you have the quote there?
I do. But
is that the full quote?
It up. It's not from. It's in my notes.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a few minutes to find it if you want to find it. But so here's what John Fossil was saying, because people were asking him about how AO was doing, and he said that he had talked to AO. He said that he had talked about the situation with AO, and apparently he's also talked about the situation with Jerry Jones. And of course, Jerry Jones had questions. And basically the way that John Fossil described it, and although the video is not up, I do have a recording of it on my phone, which I don't know if I can play. I don't know what to do when they don't post a press conference. I'm just like, am I allowed? Because I'm like, this should be accessible to everybody. It normally is. But worst case scenario, I'll listen to it on my phone and repeat what he said to make sure that I'm not misquoting him, because that's the last thing that I want to do. But there was a section of the press conference where he was talking about how he can understand where Oruwariye is coming from. And he was like, well, you're on the field and a lot is going on. And the way he explained it was, he said, because of the different roles that people have on the field during a situation like that. Clement, hey, what's up? But he said because of the different roles that people have on the field during a situation like that, causes them to have to pay attention to different things. So in other words, while all the fans are looking at what is happening as the ball is being punted, all the fans saw the block, certain players on the field did not see it.
Right.
And he said that AO was one of the people who did not see it. And so by the time he turned around, although all he saw was the ball coming towards him, and so he reacted as though it was a live ball and attempted to catch the ball or fall on it. That's what he said. And it's another one of those things that in a vacuum, I get it. However, Fossil also acknowledged that he was yelling not to touch it, and that Maris Lufau and also possibly someone else on the field were all yelling not to touch it. And so I'm like, okay, so one, you have a player who ignored all of those people.
Yeah.
Two, it sounds like you also don't have a system in place to ensure that people listen to those people. Because while I understand maybe too much was going on for him to pay attention, perhaps, but that is one of those rules that can swing the momentum of the game in such a crucial way. It shouldn't be left up to chance for a player to listen. There should be something in place to where before a player does anything, they are listening for a certain word to either go or not go. And it's like, I hate comparing roller derby to football because like people don't like it. And sometimes I think people think I'm trying to make it seem like the same sport. But when I do compare my experience in roller derby to what I see on the field from other players and other teams, what I'm really doing is just giving an example based on something that I know. So there's a situation in roller derby called a power jam. And what that basically means is that the opposing jammer has committed a penalty. So they're going to the penalty box. Our jammer is the only person that is on the track. Mm-hmm. That changes the way we play offense. It changes the way we play defense. It changes what the jammer has to do. So it changes everybody's role. So one, we practice listening for each other. Not only do we have verbal communication for it, but we have hand signals, right, so that if that happens, everybody on the track should be aware not only that it's happening, but also what their role is. That is something that I would expect from a right, professional football team.
So I'm wondering though if he's one of those people, and this may sound absurd, but some people can do this, that just tunes everything out accidentally. I will say, like, for example, playing softball in the outfield, it was mandatory, kind of what you're saying, but on a lesser scale. Mm-hmm. If the ball is coming your way, it's a pop fly, you have to call everybody else off if you want it. So it's like mine. But there's some people that's like, you collide because that person's like, I didn't hear you. I completely didn't hear you, even if they're right there. So not giving him an excuse at all. And I don't think that should be an excuse, but I'm wondering if that was the case.
It could be. And maybe that's something that they didn't expect to impact the game the mm-hmm. way it did. I don't know. I have a hard time giving him a pass. And the way Fossil was explaining his perspective of the situation
and the procedures
and his feelings about AO, because he literally said he didn't feel like anyone should blame AO. Mm-hmm. And I had it been a one-on-one conversation, I would have been like, Coach, I have a lot of respect for you.
Right.
And I can understand if you don't want people to villainize AO, mm-hmm. if you don't want them to drag him, maybe, because it's going to happen, but maybe you don't want it to happen. Maybe you don't think he deserves to be dealt with so harshly. Mm-hmm. But to say you don't want people to blame him, it's a bit much for me. I'm not going to lie. And so one of the questions that I asked John Fossil, I think it was the only question I asked him today, but I asked him, I said, as a coach, how are you navigating this area where accountability and sympathy overlap? And he said, well, sympathy isn't a word that I would use.
Yeah.
But when I hear you telling members of the media, I don't think you should blame this guy, and I don't think it's his fault, and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, no, it sounds like you want us to be a little bit sympathetic. To me, that goes a little bit beyond understanding. Because to me, understanding is saying, hey, this was his fault. He fucked up right here. Mm-hmm. I understand why he did it. I won't say he should be cut. I won't say he's the worst player ever. But in this situation, he fucked up and he should be held accountable. Something needs to happen to ensure that never happens again. And if the only way to ensure it is to say that he no longer gets to play in that role, then it is what it is. If the only way to ensure it means that you have to put a different procedure in place to make sure that he has not only something to listen for, but also something to see, then it is what it is. So John Fossil, it's up to you to figure out how to prevent this from ever happening again. But we can't act like this ain't his fault. Yeah. We can't act like he didn't fuck up.
The loss is his fault, or which part are you saying is his fault?
The moment is his fault. Now, if you want to say the loss is his fault, I can understand. There are some people who are going to say the loss is his fault because.
And that I can't agree.
Hold on. I'm going to take John Fossil's point and turn it against him, right? You already I can't take it. So John Fossil was saying everybody makes mistakes. This wasn't the only mistake, right?
Yeah.
But we all know that. Okay? We all know that. Yeah. So that's just part of the game. Yes, there were mistakes on offense. There were mistakes on defense. So while those mistakes might have contributed to the game, they're also part of the game. The Bengals also made mistakes. So all that cancels each other out. The fact of the matter is, despite whatever mistakes were made in that moment, the Dallas Cowboys were in a position to win that game.
Right.
So you can't just say, well, this mistake shouldn't count because other mistakes were made.
No, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
no, other players and the other units did what they needed to do to account for the mistake and ensure that the Cowboys weren't in the position. At that point, it was on special teams to do their part, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So while to me, it's not as important if it's his fault that the loss happened, because we can literally go through all the film and be like, this was a mistake, that was wrong, we could have done better here, boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
But if that mistake hadn't happened, the Cowboys, as a matter of fact, hold on, because a lot of times NFL Pro will post the win probability.
And I'm
gonna see if they have it.
This Jerry Jones quote, but
Okay, so it's hard to tell here, but like, here's quarter 4. I'm gonna hold this up to the screen. So Cowboys are on the bottom, Bengals are on the top.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, according to the win probability of next gen stats, the Cowboys were more likely to win. Yes. Then all of a sudden,
it shot up.
What happened?
Skyrocketed to the top. Inevitable.
So I'm saying even the robots and computer programs and whatever algorithms analyze this game, even they were like, okay, Cowboys can win this. Oh shit, no, they're not. So I'm gonna just say I'm not the only one who thinks that situation cost them the game.
Oh, it absolutely cost him the game. I wouldn't say that the whole loss was his fault, because, again, playing sports, we actually were forbidden to say, hey, you lost the game, it's all your fault. Especially if there were other mistakes in the game, and there was. So we weren't allowed to say that. Now, I will say, you have to have situational awareness, especially at this level and in that situation. So did that play cause the loss at that point? It didn't help it. So, I mean, it didn't push them to win. So, yes. I don't think that it should be like a bash train against him. It was a mistake, and I feel like people are almost treating it like the Super Bowl. That's how significant.
I don't know if I would say that.
Like the bashing is coming.
First of all, if the Cowboys had a chance to make the Super Bowl, it would break the damn internet. So I can't agree with you on that one. However,
I'm saying the backlash from it has been really heavy, as if the Cowboys had the chance there to make it to the Super Bowl. Like that,
they didn't have the chance there to make the Super Bowl, but guess what?
Yeah,
the odds were increasing that they could possibly make the playoffs.
Slightly.
Which they were still low. Had the Cowboys won this game, it would have gone from 4% to 9%. Oh my God. But the thing is,
now we're 2%?
Less than 1. It's less than 1%.
I thought it was 2. All right.
Now the chances are less than 1%.
That breaks my heart.
Which is another reason why people are upset about AO. While we're talking about,
we have to talk about Micah's reaction.
Oh, what he said on Bleacher Report?
No, his reaction.
Oh, his reaction afterwards. Okay, let me make this one point, and then we can talk about Micah. So it's not like the Cowboys were going to the Super Bowl, and honestly, the odds were still low that they would even make the playoffs. But the odds were increasing.
Yeah.
Every year, Coach Mike McCarthy, when people start asking him about playoff seeding and whatever, he's like, we're not going to talk about that till we reach 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
There was a possibility for this team to reach 10 wins, and now there's literally no more possibility. So for the people who were excited about watching this momentum to the end of the season and were like, oh, what could happen? Like, this is interesting. We didn't expect this. All that is gone. And it's not gone because the whole team did so poorly. Like, look at how the Bengals have been played. Joe Burrow is arguably one of the best. If you look at his numbers, there is a case to be made that he is the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys defense held them to essentially 20 points. Amazing performance by the defense, who also were not perfect. There were mistakes made, but amazing performance by the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the offense that's just been struggling. All of a sudden, they've got this commitment to the run. They're showing a little bit of creativity with the Wildcat formation with Devontae Turpin. Like, we're just seeing some interesting things. And so it was just like, at that moment, especially right after the blocked punt, it was like, punts blocked. Yeah. Oh my God! Like,
it's still
we could be right here in Aubrey's field goal range, and then seconds afterwards, it's like, nope. So anyway, let's talk about Micah's reaction, because when I saw Micah's reaction, I felt like Micah was channeling me. Like, what he was showing on the screen was how I felt.
Because too many times people have said, "Oh, the Cowboys players show no emotion, or they're not into it." So then when you see,
I feel like people say the opposite about Cowboys players,
that they show a lot of emotion.
All people do is complain about people like Micah and CeeDee showing emotion. Every time they show emotion, it's a problem.
Those two.
When Dak shows emotion, it's a problem.
Do we see Dak show emotion a lot though?
Yes. When he be on the bench looking frustrated.
To me, the most reaction I see from Dak is when there's an interception, and he always has that look like
the deer in headlights.
Yes,
I hate that look.
What is that? But it's not extreme like what I saw from Micah on.
Well, no, he doesn't show that kind of emotion. But half the narratives this season have been about somebody's body language on the sideline, or something somebody said in there.
It hasn't been extreme to the point of what we saw, like, from Micah.
I don't think what Micah did was extreme. Yeah. I think what he did was appropriate for the situation.
Before the Cowboys, we don't see that a lot. I feel like with other teams, I'll see it, but you don't see that a lot with the Cowboys, like that much emotion. You may see it in their face a little bit or their body language, but I feel like that's why it was kind of blown up. Like, oh, look at Mike. And people complained, but I don't think that was a terrible reaction. To me, that's somebody that cares about the game.
Who are you listening to? Reaction. Who is out here complaining about Micah's reaction?
You haven't seen it? They're calling him a crybaby.
See, this is why I got off Twitter. That is fucking ridiculous.
Have y'all not seen people complaining about
I have not been on Twitter, so no, I have not seen this bullshit.
And I also
calling Micah Parsons.
Think it's because of his podcast. People already feel a way about him speaking out on his podcast. So then when you see him on the sidelines reacting like that, they're
you need to get off Twitter, girl. These people sound crazy.
I'm not agreeing.
I know you're not agreeing, but I just need you to listen to somebody else. Just like even
I'm not listening, but I see it. And I'm like,
all I'm saying is those conversations are not happening on Blue Sky.
Oh gosh, I'm not getting into that.
It's true, because people on Blue Sky are being rational.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me respond to that, since this was your topic that you brought up.
I just think Michael was channeling the majority of Cowboys Nation. Absolutely.
Thank you, William. So let me respond to this idea. Like, actually, let me rewind to I want to choke somebody right now. I'm trying to figure out how to organize my thoughts and not let my frustration with these comments take over and just completely derail me. Do you want? Hold on, no, I'm gonna get to it later. Okay, so regarding the podcast, first of all, Cowboys fans, Cowboys haters, whoever the fuck, members of the media, Micah Parsons has a podcast. He has for a while, is not going anywhere. He has a position with Bleacher Report, not just as a podcast host. He actually makes decisions when it comes to what Bleacher Report does in terms of entertainment and podcasting and programming and things of that nature. He is, to my knowledge, he's the only active athlete to be in that position. Also, we see every day how players' careers are derailed. Things happen unplanned, or players end up leaving the league.
Make that point.
Players end up leaving the league with no plan, nothing to sustain them, no career to continue their purpose after that. Micah Parsons has found a purpose. He's found a calling. Get the fuck over it. I promise you, whatever is going into him doing this podcast is, first of all, he's one of the best players on defense. Like, if you look at stats, you could argue that he is the best player on defense, because in a lot of ways he's outperforming everybody. So if that's what having a podcast causes to happen, everybody needs to have a goddamn podcast. Secondly, whatever you think is going on with the team is not because of Micah Parsons' podcast. because he has people to do things. Like, we had to take a lot of time to set up today, right?
Yes.
He has people to do that shit for him. Okay. There's a lot of things that he does not have to worry about. Also, every single player, not only on the Dallas Cowboys, but also in the entire NFL, everybody does something besides watch film and work out.
Yeah.
Everybody does. For some players, it's a podcast. For some players, it's a different side business. There are players in the Cowboys locker room who are selling clothes, who are selling hair products, who have nonprofits that they're helping run, who have artists that they're managing, all kinds of shit. Everybody has something that they do. I don't know why people are so obsessed with Micah's podcast, but damn it, get over it.
It's
been multiple seasons now.
Like, of players need to be quiet and just play ball. And I absolutely hate that. Like you said, they have lives after this. And with football, there's no, like, they don't take care of these players after they have retired or after they're off of a team. So I feel like he's absolutely setting up a future for himself in media if he wants that. And I don't see anything.
It seems like he does want that.
It's not affecting his play.
And also the idea of players need to shut up and do da-da-da. It's, huh? Oh, no, that one is. This one's fine.
Oh, sorry.
They can hear us. That has never been the case. It's never been the case. I was talking to somebody about the fact that Deion Sanders put out a whole ass single and a music video.
His son has a podcast right now.
I know Travis Hunter does. Does Shador also does?
Yes.
I'm only laughing because neither one of them are great speakers. Yeah. But like that's what your personality can do for you.
Shador just put out a song too.
Oh, I know. But it's like, the funny thing is, it's like people make fun of Shador for putting out a song. His daddy did it. Like, he's literally following in his father's footsteps. And Deion Sanders did this at a time where, so now if you and I wanted to, we could go on this laptop, make a single, make a video right here and put it out, right? Deion Sanders did that at a time where he had to go to a recording studio. He had to hire a producer and musicians and an engineer and vocalist. He set up a video shoot that there had to be a budget created for, that there were cameras on site for, that they had to hire models and dancers for. So when we're talking about like distractions, like Deion Sanders was on Saturday Night Live. There were Cowboys players who had radio shows, who were on the radio all the time. This is not new. No. People like to romanticize the past and act like, oh, players back in my day, they wouldn't have done it, but they would have. And they did. And they did. And like I said before, anybody remember the stories about the White House? What we haven't heard about this current rendition of the Cowboys is any stories about them renting out a house and having coked out orgies. Like, wow. But y'all want to be mad about a damn podcast. Okay.
I think people just need to find an excuse. They want to find some drama, something to be upset about, and control over the players. I feel like some people absolutely feel like, oh, these players just need to play ball. And that's not the case. Like, we're in a space and an age and era now where these athletes are absolutely free and there's more opportunities to explore other avenues while they're still playing. And I honestly think that's the best time for them to be able to do that, because after they're done playing ball, sometimes they're forgotten about or people don't care. This is the time to strike the iron while it's hot.
People dehumanize players all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one point on which I will agree with John Fossil, is that these players are human. They will have human reactions. They will make human mistakes. In the case of Micah, the podcast is not an issue. Like, I don't even engage with people who make that argument anymore.
Yeah. And then what is it going to change?
And then as far as him being emotional, I mean, so I was listening to a clip of Micah's podcast today, and I'll pull it up if it's beneficial. But he said something to the effect of, if you don't know what it's like to be a true competitor and to want to be your best at everything that you do, then you won't understand.
Right.
And I felt him on that, because there is a lot of things that I push myself really hard to do or to accomplish. And I'll have people tell me that, like, maybe I should relax or not put so much pressure on myself or whatever. And so I'm not saying that I can relate to Micah 100%, But I do think that that perspective of wanting to be the best at everything that you do is what led to him being so frustrated.
Yeah.
Because
they
you
were
have to think
almost-
about the fact that Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense, before they faced the Cowboys, they were out here scoring at a high clip. The Cowboys defense was faced with the challenge of essentially holding Joe Burrow to about 50 to 60%. Not just Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, who are literally statistically, you can look up the facts. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they are two of the best receivers in the entire league. Joe Burrow, arguably the best quarterback in the entire league. And the Cowboys defense, even with everything that it's gone through, with learning a new scheme, the injuries that it's dealt with, people playing in a scheme they're not used to playing in, that's not even necessarily playing to their strengths, they were tasked with the job of holding that, like, just for very formidable, exceptional Bengals offense to about 50 to 60% of their normal production. And they did that shit. And you're like, okay, that was hard, but we held them. All you got to do is get in the field goal range, score a field goal, and we win. And they walked off the field feeling like their job was done. And all they had to do was let special teams do their thing and offense do their thing, and then special teams do their thing again. And then it just blows up. Not because the other team pulled out some trick play that they just didn't have an answer for. No, because of a damn mistake. A preventable mistake, a mistake preventable with things that you would expect to be in place, like coaching, game IQ, understanding, awareness, watching the goddamn film, just knowing your job. That's what cost them that. That's what took all the work that Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense had done up until that point and balled it up and threw it in the trash can. Yes, he was pissed. Like, and then on top of that, because like, I don't know what people are calling him a crybaby for, but there's that.
They actually showed him crying.
But there's that, and then there's the situation with Overshown. Of course he's crying.
There's a lot.
Like,
that's a lot to happen in a short span of time. And like you said, people dehumanize athletes and expect them to snap in and out of emotions, and it just does not work.
Expect them to not have emotions.
This game within reach, and then it's taken, and then you have someone that you've seen work so hard to get to the point that he did Overshown, and then it'd be snatched away from him like that. Emotions were high.
I have literally had people criticize me, like, to my face, for taking into consideration player emotions when I'm presenting a take or an argument. And what's even more wild about it, and I'm gonna go on this tangent for a little bit, we're gonna get back to ball, but what's even more wild about it to me is the fact that it'll be Black men who tell me this. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, do we not have enough issues in society where it feels like Black men in general do not have a space to be human and to express their emotions in a safe way? Because, like, let's be real, Micah Parsons did not do anything violent or dangerous. No. He was frustrated about the loss. He was sad about someone who had become a good friend and one of his best teammates being yanked out of the game and possibly missing not only the rest of this season, but also next season.
Right. And plus, like,
who wouldn't feel for someone in that situation?
If the cameras were in his face and he showed no emotion and a blank face, then that would have been a problem. He doesn't care. He's selfish. They didn't care about their teammate. So which is it?
And to me, it's crazy to live in a world where people will be like, oh, nobody cares about how Black men feel. Black men never have room to express themselves or to be emotional. But then, you know, a Black man does it. Yeah. One who is well known, who has star power, and who is also known for being tough. Nobody's going to mistake Micah Parsons for being soft or weak. And he does it. But then you see Black men take part in making fun of him and calling him names and criticizing people who take his emotions into consideration whenever they say things. It's wild to me. But anyway, back to ball.
We can get back to ball, but that was a valid point, because then when we don't see those emotions come out, you don't realize those emotions are there. Even though you're not seeing them come out, they're there. And when they're bottled up and they build up, and you see someone snap on the sideline, I'll give a small example way back in the past when Odell had a fit with the field goal. It's like, okay, well then, oh, that's outrageous. That's this. Well, you expect people to bottle these emotions up and just keep them there. At some point, they're going to have an outburst. You rather them come out naturally instead of just feeling like, oh, I have to hold my emotions in. So,
and let's also not forget, these are young men.
Yes.
And I don't know why people forget that aspect of these guys' lives. I don't know if it's, sometimes I see people say things like, well, they're making millions of dollars, so they should get like,
Stop
no,
putting a price tag on people.
You can't put a price tag on someone's humanity, first of all. Like, these are young men who not only have a lot of them not had a lot of life experience, because for a lot of us, our life experience has been shaped through interactions with our friends, relationships. There are people talking about these young men who have already had kids. There are people talking about these young men who have kids who are the same age as these young men are. And so not only do they have limited life experience, but the life experience that they do have is very different than what most of us have.
Right.
Like, they might, for some of them, right, they might have gone through trials and tribulations as children, growing up either in poverty or in some tough home situation. But especially these days, by the time they get to college, if they are a star on a college campus, things are very different from them. And I won't necessarily say easy, but it's very different in terms of who will take care of you, who will look out for you, the type of people who will gravitate towards you and call themselves your friend, and how that impacts your life. And so there are a lot of things that they will only learn through the turbulence and the trials and tribulations that they face on the field with their teammates, or through trying to navigate life as an NFL star and trying to win, or trying to balance building their brand with being a football player, or trying to process and understand their own emotions when it comes to suffering a loss or having a teammate go down. Like, once again, not to make it sound like roller derby is the same as football, but in derby, we have derby sisters, right? And so my derby sister and I moved to Texas at the same time. So we were both skating in Nashville, and Nashville was a good team, but it didn't seem like it was on a trajectory to be internationally good. Because like in roller derby at the time, rankings were international. And so the team that we were playing for around the world, it was, I think, about 45th, which, looking back on it now, we probably should have appreciated that more, but we didn't. So we were on a team that was ranked 45th in the world. The Texas Roller Girls, based out of Austin, were ranked 7th. And so we were both like, well, let's move. I was trying to get out of a relationship that was, don't get me started on that. And her wife were moving. She was like, you should just move with us, get away from this dude, come to Texas with us. And I was like, all right. And so we moved to Austin. We auditioned for Texas Roller Girls. We try out for Texas Roller Girls. We both make it. So you make the league, but then you have to also try out again in order to make the team that actually competes on an international level, right? And so we're at one of the tryouts, and the whistle blows to start the jam. She falls. Someone falls on her, and she basically ends up with a tib-fib injury. That fucking hurt my soul. And I had seen some bad injuries before that. Like, that same derby sister, I had seen her break her nose and have like blood all over her face. But it was something about knowing that she wasn't going to be able to skate for that upcoming season, and that she wasn't going to be able to be a part of the team competing for the world championships, that just hurt me.
Right.
And it took me a while to process that and understand why something that didn't happen to me affected me. Now, imagine you're a 20-something-year-old man and something similar happens to you. You have a friend who they suffer a freak injury that you don't know if they'll come back from, but even if they do come back from it, their season is derailed. All the things that would make them the legend you think they deserve to be in this sport is going to be derailed, if not completely denied, because now he's probably no longer in talks for Pro Bowl, All-Pro this year. Definitely won't be next year because he won't be playing. So now you're looking at 2026 before this young man is even ready to play again or can make an impact in the league or on the team that you feel like he deserves to make. And then there's just everything that he's going to, if he can come back at full capacity, and then just everything that he has to go through, the pain that he's in now, the pain that he's going to be in after surgery, the long road that he's going to have to go down just to even be able to walk normally again. You're watching a friend go through this. You're watching someone you call a brother go through this. Like, how could you not be?
These guys spend more time with each other than they do with their families.
In a lot of cases, that is true.
Like practice, preseason, training camp, and their off season is very short. So they're spending. This is not like you go to your 9 to 5 and you go home and that's it. They see each other all the time, and that's not. I'm sure they hang out outside of like work for them, but they have built these bonds, so you can't just expect them to show up, not have emotions or care about one another. That's just not gonna be the case.
Exactly. So on that note, I do want to talk about DeMarvion Overshown's injury, because I think not everybody might be up to speed on what exactly happened. Yeah. So apparently there was this narrative going around about grass versus turf that had nothing to do with it. Someone literally fell into his leg, and my heart went out to him when I first saw how he was sitting on the ground when he didn't get up, because his leg was in a position where there was like internal hip rotation and his foot was going behind him, but it seemed like he could not lift or move that right leg at all, which was not a good sign. Now, since then, I think I saw something that said he ruptured several ligaments, which that concerned me because there's at least 11 ligaments in the knee. A lot of people aren't aware of that because typically when it comes to, oh, you got a fan.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. When it comes to injuries, Kevin's dope. I love KG. But when it comes to injuries, we typically hear about ACL, PCL, MCL, right? But there's actually 11 ligaments in the knee, at least. I know I had to learn 11 for my certification. There might be more than that, but I know it's at least that. So when I heard ruptured several tendons, and I was thinking about the position that, or several ligaments, and I was thinking about the position that his leg was in, I was thinking the worst. I was like, oh my God, what if this man has ruptured like 5 ligaments?
Yeah, because that play was nasty.
It was.
You think these are 200+ pound men on the field, and to see him go into his knee literally like this, and it just, you knew it was going to be bad, but to hear it was that bad, I mean.
So when I heard that it was 3, part of me was like, that is terrible, but also that's less than what I was guessing.
So it's 3, or they're
it's 3. So I heard confirmation earlier that it was 3, and on NFL Live, and I don't know what their source was, but on NFL Live they reported that it was the ACL, PCL, and MCL, which are major ones. They are major ones, but it's not all of them. It's 3 out of 11 or more ligaments. I don't know why I'm trying to put a positive spin on this. It's bad, but it's bad, but it's not.
It's not all of them, guys. It's these 3, and that cuts down essentially. Hopefully,
yeah, I'm like it's like 30% or less.
And another silver lining,
but
is the Cowboys seem to have a really good medical staff, and.
But no, it's bad. Okay. It's bad. This is not something that you want to see anybody go through, and. Last night there was speculation on Blue Sky about whether or not he would be out for the 2025 season. Hearing about all 3 of those ligaments being ruptured suggests to me like, yeah, he's out for the 2025 season. Hey JV, how's it going? Good to see you. Glad you made it.
I'll say, I feel like Mike McCarthy does not rush his players when they come back from injury. So even if he came back later 2025, I still don't think that he would be put in, because Mike McCarthy has said before, when people were injured and the media's tried to spin like, okay, well, he's ready to come back. Mike McCarthy's like, we're going to wait until we're sure they're ready to come back.
It's going to take at least a year. The only scenario that I was thinking of, and I'm going to just put this out in hopes of positive vibes. Okay, the only scenario I was thinking of, I was like, okay, what if the Cowboys are better next year and they make it to the playoffs? Comes back in time for the playoffs, and that's the next time we see DeMarvion Overshown. I would cry again.
That is definitely another cryable moment, because I feel like even if he didn't play that season, he earned, like, he deserves to be there and play.
Yeah, but have you ever heard this saying? I think the first time I heard it, it was talking about let me not act like I remember, but have you ever heard the saying where they say, we respect performances, but we love people?
I haven't.
It's a saying basically suggesting that like there's a difference between who a person is and what they do. And that respect comes from a person playing a certain role and playing that certain role in a certain way. But usually love, which sometimes people confuse for respect, but it's not the same thing. Love comes from acknowledging who a person is and what kind of person they are outside of the role that they're expected to perform. And when I saw people's reactions to Overshown going down, I thought of that quote because he's one of those people who seems to get both love and respect, and for very good reason. Like literally, and it's like, you know, our access to the locker room was taken away a while back. But when I do think of DeMarvion Overshown, I do think of just the smile he had and the kind of energy that he had. And I can't think of a single time ever seeing him look down or look tired or even being rude. Like he was always very respectful. I'll never forget one time I was talking to, it was either Rico or Maris, and he walked over and like still with the big ass smile on his face, and he's like, hey, because it was me and just talking to these guys, and he's like, hey, I just want to let y'all know I'm about to change clothes. I don't know if you want to turn around. I just want to be respectful and make sure I don't make y'all uncomfortable. So just so you know, I'm about to get undressed. And I'm just like, oh, that is so cute and considerate. But like he was just, he was just like one of those guys, like always a gentleman, always courteous, always a nice guy. And just like, there are very few people who I would put on a list above him if somebody were like, you know, rank some of the most pleasant Cowboys players you've ever interacted with. You know, and it's just like you hear about people talk about him being a bright spot on the defense. I think he was a bright spot on the team because as much as I compliment Mike McCarthy for what he's done in terms of culture and ensuring that the team has remained competitive and, you know, stayed focused on their next goal and like one goal after another for the season, he can't do that by himself. No coach can. And so Mike McCarthy is fortunate to have certain players in that locker room who back him up on what he says and make sure to keep the rest of the team in lockstep with that. And Overshown was one of those people. And it wasn't about sucking up to Mike McCarthy or anything like that. I believe it was about the fact that he actually had a genuine belief in what the team was capable of and what they could do if everybody would just like lace up their cleats and get it done, you know? I think it was genuine. I think he really wanted to see the team do well and get the best results that it could get. And I think that kind of attitude is contagious, especially when it comes in the form of joy and belief and motivating your teammates, as opposed to let me try to intimidate you into going along with this line of thought. So
you need to stop talking about him.
Sorry if it came off the way. I wasn't talking about him in the past tense. I was talking about my observations of him in the past tense. DeMarvion Overshown is still with us. But the situations I'm referring to happened in the past. If that makes sense.
No, I like that you were speaking on him as a person, and I think that with a season like this that the Cowboys have had, he absolutely was obviously a light that the team needed. And someone that could come in and make those plays to kind of motivate them to do better. And that's why it is unfortunate that his season has ended the way it has. And she's not talking about him in the past tense, but just we know he's out for the season, so we can't be like, hey, so next game or right now, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right. So we talked about DeMarvion. We talked about Micah. I think the only other thing that I'm going to say about Micah is that one other piece of criticism that I've heard about him is his belief in the team, which is wild to me.
He is me. That's me. They're like, Candace, the Cowboys are not, like, let it go. And I'm like, if there's a chance, if there's a slim chance,
even less than 1%,
if there's less than 1% chance, I keep looking down here. If there's a less than 1%, and that's the computer. Y'all see me looking down here. There's a less than 1% chance. Guess what? I'm the one that's gonna believe that
we can make it. So
Not wrong.
I understand that 1,000%, 1,000,000%, because you're not, and especially if I'm on the team. I'm on the team and I've been working hard. I've been busting my behind in training camp. I went through this injury, and I'm speaking like I'm Micah Parsons, but I went through this injury during the season. I fought my way through it. I'm back. You're not going to tell me that my team has no chance in hell to make it. Like, if there's a percent, I'm going to do everything I can to get to that point. If we can make it to the playoffs, I'm going to do everything. I'm not going to sit in front of the cameras and be like, yeah, we had a sucky season and we might as well just give up. Like, who in their right mind would say that if you really care? So that just goes to show, yes, he cares about his teammates, but he also cares about the game. He wants to win. And you want players like that. Like, why would you not want a player that's passionate about every aspect of a game? We have a player that's passionate about the other players on the team, about winning games. Then you have a good player. If you don't, you have a player that doesn't care about anything. And that's somebody you don't want in your organization.
Sorry. And no, you're good. I'm going to just sum it up by saying I don't think there's anything wrong with Micah Parsons saying he believes that the team is a good team, or he believes that the team is better than what the results have shown. I don't think there's anything wrong with him saying that. Like, I feel like, once again, human beings being players, I feel like we can all relate to that. Yeah. How many of us have had a bad month, a bad year in life, or just was at a job maybe that wasn't the best fit for us, and thought to ourselves, you know what, I deserve better. Or, you know what, I know I can do better than this. I just need to I need to refocus in this way. Or, you know what, this situation set me back. I got to find a way to overcome this. I'm not going to let this define me. That's all he's doing. I don't understand why people have a problem with that. Let me check one more time to see if these press conferences have been posted.
I just think that's wild for you to expect a player to just give up or just not have any hope. Now, if he came... laughing at this. If he came in front of the cameras and was the complete opposite and wanting the team to lose, then there would be a problem. And he would be presumed to not care about the team and not really care about football and selfish. So I think I love when players show emotion and want to win. Heck, as a Cowboys fan, even though I have this on y'all, this is old, but I like it. But as a Cowboys fan, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to tune in. I don't want to listen to press conferences or media takes where the Cowboys players are being down about the team, because then you lose hope.
Can you imagine if Micah Parsons went on his show and was like, you know what, Cowboys suck. I'm not talking about them no more. We're going to talk about somebody else the rest of the season.
I mean,
like,
really?
People are so unrealistic with their expectations. I'm like, what would you have them do? Even today, Coach Zimmer, I asked him, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about his reaction to this question. And I don't know if my question got on his nerves or if the situation annoyed him. But I was like, yeah, so there was a lot of excitement around Jordan Lewis and Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland all being active at the same time.
Yes.
And I was like, can you just talk about how that affects your game planning and, you know, how these guys impact each other in a synergistic way? And he was like, well, for one thing, I didn't know that they were going to be playing all together until 90 minutes before kickoff. Like,
I feel like you are not supposed to give us this information.
Well, I mean, we all kind of knew that because, like, we all got the news about Trayvon at the same time. But then he said something like, it sure would be nice if they got more practice reps together or had more time to play together. Like, he was basically...
I feel like...
But anyway, my point is...
one of those people where they're like, you sit this out, or you just said, here's the script, stick to it.
My point is, what he said was, he was like, I think they'll benefit from having more time together. And I wrote in my notes, what did I say? I said, so what are we looking forward to? I didn't ask him this because, once again, it's not a one-on-one conversation. They don't have a lot of time, and I can't just be like, let me ask 6 questions in a row.
Right.
But when he said that, when he said they need more time together, I'm like, well, if he's still looking forward to them having more time together, he's still looking forward to them improving cohesively, which means even the coaches are still like, we got games left to play. There's still things that we need to practice. There's still things that we're looking forward to improving.
Yeah.
Even if you're just setting a foundation for next year. I said earlier in the season, and I kind of regret it now, but one of the things that I said earlier in the season, I said that the Cowboys are essentially playing for 2025. And I don't know. I don't remember if I posted this video. I don't think I posted it. I think it was taking so long.
So what
to
made
edit.
you say it?
What made me say it was there was an episode of Get Up on ESPN, and they were grading. What were they grading? They were grading something. It was very early in the season, and they graded the Cowboys an incomplete. And the guys on set, they were joking about it, and they were like, an incomplete, how you grade them an incomplete? And then Greeny, the host of Get Up, said something like, yeah, so apparently the Cowboys are going to be held back a grade. So next season, while everybody is playing the 2025 season, the Cowboys are going to have to redo 2024. And they were kind of laughing about it. And I mean, I didn't post this video. I'm so mad at myself. So sidebar. Sometimes I get anxious about my own content. And I'll be like, oh, this content is no longer relevant. There's no point in me posting it. So it's like, it's coming back to me now. I recorded this video, but I was having a hard time finding time to edit it. So I literally just never posted it. And now I kind of want to. But anyway, what I was saying in this video was, I was like, while Greeny was saying it as a joke, he kind of has a point, because everything that the Cowboys were expecting to happen in 2024 is like, now it's set up for that to happen during 2025.
Yeah.
So like, we were expecting to see Zimmer's scheme be put in place and expecting to see certain results from that. Because of the injuries, that's going to be delayed till 2025. We're just now starting to kind of see what Zimmer was going for with his scheme. They're still going to need to make some changes in terms of personnel. Like injured players are going to have to come back and get used to the scheme also.
Again.
So there's that. What we were expecting in terms of like Dak and CeeDee had a record year in 2023. Everybody was expecting them to build on that in 2024. Between the delayed start because of the contracts and Dak getting hurt, and let's not forget,
they could just not.
And CeeDee is hurt now as well. Even that is delayed to 2025.
But also, sorry, sidebar. I hope they figure out whatever miscommunication they kept having out. Because I felt a lot of times this season. I mean, yeah, but a lot of times this season when they
heard Dak is having another kid.
I know. How cute!
Congratulations to Dak.
Yes, congratulations.
But go ahead.
That was sidebar. Sidebar. But yeah, I really, because like you said, 2023, I looked for them to build off of that. So
yes.
I'm like looking this season when they both were on the field. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So that is a connection I'm looking forward to seeing next season.
Yeah. The promise that the Joneses made about going all in, that's going to be delayed until 2025. So like everything that we were expecting to see from the tight end room with Brevin Spann-Ford, things that we were expecting to see from the wide receivers, like everything that like through the offseason, through training camp, that people were like, oh, the Cowboys are going to have this and that. It's like we started to see the seeds of it, and it was derailed. It was derailed for one reason or another. And so, yeah, while the date will obviously be 2025, the Cowboys are still going to be working on a lot of the things that they said were going to happen. Chris is mentioning John Stevens Jr., him as well. So, like, a lot of the things that everybody was looking forward to for 2024, Cowboys are still going to have to be working towards that in 2025.
So, with that being said, do you think that as the team stands now, meaning the players that they have, do you think that they could be set up for a successful season next year?
I do think they could. I know in some regards it's not looking good, especially when it comes to the defense. I know so many people were looking forward to seeing how during the draft through free agency are they going to build around Micah Parsons and DeMarvion Overshown. So that is something that we won't get to see, unfortunately. But Micah Parsons is still the cornerstone of the defense. There are still ways that you can build around him. And hopefully they find a way to keep some of the key players. Like I know there's been speculation about, can they afford to keep Osa? Like what the market demands for him, will he end up being one of the people gone? I hope they can keep him. I like him. Chauncey's been doing well.
And they still have to pay Micah, right?
They still have to pay Micah. We're seeing good things from Marshawn Newland, and he's going to be back. on the offensive side of the ball, like just some of the creativity that we're seeing with how Cavante Turpin is being used.
I love that they found a lane for Cavante Turpin. Like, he's our little secret weapon.
I hope they build off that creativity and also find better ways to use Deuce Vaughn. I think Deuce Vaughn is a much better runner than how he's been portrayed, but I think they haven't found ways to use him in the ways that they found ways to use Cavante Turpin.
See,
because what we're seeing,
we have untraditional weapons and we don't know exactly
how to use them. What we're seeing with Turpin is an example of what people have been saying from the beginning of the season, which is like, you can't just plug and play these players. You're going to have to set up packages and plays for them based on their strengths, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what we're finally seeing happen with Turpin. We're seeing him be put in positions that cater to his strengths that only he can do. You couldn't take out Turpin and put in like Jalen Tolbert and expect the same results on some of those plays. And that's also not necessary, right?
I just wonder what takes us, the Cowboys, so long to get there. Like, at the beginning of the season, I said I felt like it was trial and error. So I feel like, why does it have to be trial and error during the season?
I think that's where we get into the conversation about Mike McCarthy possibly coming back and what that means. Because while, and I did say earlier, I support Mike McCarthy coming back as a coach, but that's because of what he does in terms of culture, in terms of guiding and directing the team. However, there are a lot of people who are making the argument that, like, okay, while he might be a great head coach in terms of guiding the team as a whole, the play calling needs somebody else.
Yeah.
And for those people who look at national media, Brian Schottenheimer's name is almost never brought up in conversation. But for the people who are actually looking at Cowboys-centric content, who actually watch the press conferences online when they do get posted, you listen to Brian Schottenheimer talk about the offense, and it's like he's looking through a completely different lens from Mike McCarthy because of the things that he notices and because of the things that come off as important to him. And so while I do have a lot of respect for Mike McCarthy and what he's been able to do, I would actually like to see either Schottenheimer have a bigger role in play calling or take it over altogether.
And it's almost like, with how the team, we're trying to see we need these players and these packages set up, like you said, for them to play to their strengths.
Yes.
Well, maybe we need the same thing with coaching. He needs someone to take that load off of his plate so we can see Mike McCarthy play to his strength.
Hold on, I want to scroll through some of these comments.
But
I love we want y'all to press the like button.
Really quick, I love that they found what to do with Cavante Turpin. He just reminds me so much of a little bit of when we had Lucky Whitehead, but also Beasley. Cole Beasley was like our secret weapon in the end zone, and we found how to use him perfectly every time. So hopefully, we can keep Cavante Turpin around and use him a little bit in that same measure.
All right, Clement says the national media love to talk on the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys, mainly because of Jerry Jones and the irrational, delusional fans, the small minority. The real Cowboys fans know that we are the laughingstock due to our team's inept performance at the end of the season for many years. Oh, Lord, Clement. I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm going backwards, sorry. We as a fan base need to stop listening to these people who aren't covering or following the team. Facts. I support you in that, Clement. And as fans, we have the right to constructively criticize, but not talk down on them.
100% agree with that. I cannot stand when you talk down on these players, calling them names and this and that. Like, you are entitled to your opinion, but be respectful and honest about it. Fact-based.
JV says, I still see the I hate Dak or is Dak Prescott's fault posts in different live streams. Who the hell is saying this? What in the world?
People who are probably just now watching.
I don't even.
They're coming in end of the season. Where's that?
Kevin Gray said hi to you, but didn't say hi to me. So KG, if you're still watching, just know we are officially beefing. What is this? I'm gonna
take up for KG. KG is probably the Mavs apparent playing right now, so he's not in the show, but taking notes.
Oh, so you're saying he just wasn't paying attention? Like maybe he saw the notification
Maybe he
for your
typed
channel.
one and then he was gonna like type and then
Okay.
KG, I'm trying to help.
I will temporarily give KG a pass. Just KG, no, I expect to hear from you at some point. Let's see. I love weed says I want C/T combo next year. T Higgins. People have been talking about that. Will it happen? Probably not.
I like earlier someone said, well, not like, but they asked, are we keeping 4 tight ends?
That's a good question.
That depends on if we get CeeDee's a big, nice size receiver, but that depends on if we get a wide receiver.
He's tall, but we got bigger receivers, especially
if we get a DK Metcalf. Then I absolutely think,
how are we getting a DK Metcalf?
I just mean I'm being optimistic here. I'm saying the man asked the question: are we keeping 4 tight ends? I was like, if we can get a DK Metcalf, then we can do away with someone. I know.
I can't say yes or no to that right now, but I think whether or not we do is going to depend on things like the outlook with John Stevens Jr. and things of that nature. So I think there's just a lot more to talk about and to understand before any of us can answer that question.
If we do, it won't be in the
JV said too much money for Jerry Jones getting T. Higgins. So here's one thing that I want to highlight when it comes to the salary cap. There are aspects of paying players that don't get talked about in the mainstream conversations. And I need to take better notes on this. And maybe one day I'll do like a short video or an episode on this just to get us all on the same page. But one example that I remember learning about recently is the fact that when owners guarantee a certain part of a player's pay, that money that is guaranteed has to go into escrow. And I think that's just one of probably a few things that aren't taken into consideration when we think about how these contracts are negotiated. Now, does that completely absolve the Joneses of any fault or any wrongdoing when it comes to putting the roster together, handling these contracts? No. But I do think that if we're going to have an intelligent conversation about this, we need to try to get as many of the facts as possible. And so what got me into digging into this was just kind of noticing that Jerry Jones is always talking about kicking the can down the road, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, what can is he talking about? Like, what is it that he's afraid is going to come back and bite the Cowboys in the butt? And so on one hand, you've got the issue of the dead money, the fact that like they're still paying players who are no longer on the roster. Not like they're injured. They're with another team, but they were retired. They're not coming back, right? Mm-hmm. There are players that this might be their last season with the Cowboys, and they're going to be owed dead money. So that's one aspect of it. But then we also, when it comes to the Joneses and the Cowboys and their assets, we don't know how much of that is liquid. We don't. We know what Forbes says they're worth, but we don't know how much of that is in an account or how much of that is what they're worth based on some sort of property or stock or some other thing that they hold or that they own that has a perceived value, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like if they are promising all these players this guaranteed money in order to negotiate contracts, and then they got to take those guarantees and then go put them into escrow, then that might be part of the reason why some of these contract negotiations take a while, or why they're not always able to offer somebody what they're asking for.
Why did the CD one take so long?
And that could be a reason. And I'm not saying that I know how what for a fact is going there. I just know that is something that all owners have to deal with, but that doesn't get talked about. So I'm just using it as an example of saying, hey, there's aspects of these situations that we don't have all the information on.
Yeah. Thank you for educating me.
So yeah, one day I'm going to make a list of all the things that I figured out about that. And so we can go live and I can be like, okay, here's all the things that owners have to do before they promise a player a certain amount of money.
You did a really good job when we did NFL draft coverage. You kind of spoke on that.
Oh yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. Draft coverage frustrates me. And I told somebody I was going to talk about this today. So I'm going to bring it up real quick because somebody was like, yeah, it's time to talk about the draft. And every year I get people being like, hey, what do you think about this draft related topic? So I'm going to clarify my stance on draft coverage. So I think talking about the draft can be fun. And there are some college players who I really like. And it's interesting to kind of speculate on what team they would be a fit for or where they might go in the draft. But this whole pissing contest of who can watch the most film and remember the most names, that's not fun to me because usually the conversations are irrelevant. We don't even remember the conversations. Like the only time people remember those conversations is when the player that they said something about does something good, and then they get to go on social media and be like, "See, I said before they even got drafted that they were going to do
And
such
I
and such."
hate that. I'm like, is that what it's about for you?
It's such, for a lot of people it is, and they can have fun with that.
Like,
but it's
cool,
such an
but-
ego stroking piss contest that I'm just like, that's not what I do when I cover sports. I'm not here for that. So like if you ask me draft related questions and I don't answer, then that's why. Sorry. So it's like if you ask me about one of my favorite players, like if you see me tweeting about a player or making a post about a player and you're like, hey, what do you think? I might answer that. But if you ask me something about some obscure player who I never pay attention to, and you're like, do you think they're going to go second or third? Who gives a fuck? like it's wild. No, I'm not upset. I'm just saying like it's wild how much goes into like people will do mock drafts every day as if some shit actually changed. I'm like in the months of February and March, there's almost no new footage coming out about these players. Why are you doing a new mock draft every day? What
for the content?
Ain't nothing changed. And like if that's their content, cool. But it's just frustrating when people expect me to have the same content. And I'm like, that's not what I do. There are people who do that. And you can go talk to them.
Your own metric of doing
Chris Johnson said, remember 400 names just for them to not draft most of them. Exactly. It's crazy.
Well, can we have a little fun for a moment?
For a moment, we can.
Shedeur Sanders.
What, like where I think he's going to get drafted? I don't see Shedeur Sanders being a Cowboy.
I know.
Because, like, we already have Dak and we already have a backup. Yeah. I can see him going to the Raiders because one thing people forget is that Shedeur and Tom Brady are very close. Raiders need a quarterback. Tom Brady is over there, I'm pretty sure, putting all the pieces in place to ensure that it's a good landing spot for Shedeur. So I see Shedeur either going to the Raiders or to the Saints. The speculation about, actually, I'm not even going to get into the speculation about Coach
We don't have to.
That
was just a little fun I wanted to throw in there.
But I do love Shedeur. I love watching Shedeur. He's so great. Chris Johnson said both our backups' contracts are up. That is a valid point.
But we're not going to. I'm not going to say we're not going to, but for example, if I say, oh, I really would love for us to get Shedeur Sanders, I know it's not going to actually happen. So I don't even go there.
I would be very surprised if it did. Now, if it did, I would consider that a beneficial situation for Shedeur because I do think that he could benefit from watching an NFL quarterback and learning in that situation for a while. I think that could be a good situation for him. So if that did play out that way, I would not be mad at it at all. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be a Dallas Cowboy. I'm just saying I don't see that happening.
I think people, more so trying to attach him and Deion.
Chris said we're not getting him.
Deion coming in as a coach, and I'm like, they don't want Deion.
There is no indication that Deion Sanders is leaving the college ranks.
No.
So that's why I'm not entertaining that conversation. That's a lot of energy to put into a scenario that just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Yeah. There was something else I was going to talk about that I now don't remember. And I'm kind of frustrated that I don't remember. What were we talking about a few minutes ago? I don't know, but I'm about to pull up some insights from the last game just to see if there was anything surprising. No, I'm not going to pull up just the box scores. Speaking of, let me ask your opinion on this. Because I was on Blue Sky yesterday, and they play this game on there sometimes where you can write things anonymously. So one person was like, well, it's not through the app, but it's something that people will connect to the app. And so somebody was like, you can anonymously tell me who your Blue Sky crush is, and I'll send the notification. So people started going through this anonymous page to tell this person who their Blue Sky crush was. And apparently somebody has a crush on me. And so this is what they said.
Wait, Jazz, what?
This is what they said.
Okay, outside of football for a moment. Fair warning. But you guys can listen in.
Where is it? I can't find it. Oh, it's been deleted. I wonder why. I wonder if there's like a time limit on it, or maybe this person just didn't want it all up and down their feed. But did I screenshot it? Damn, because I really don't remember what it said. It said something like Jazz. It said something like Jazz Monet is breathtaking. She could read box scores, and it would be the sexiest thing I've ever seen.
That was romantic.
That's romantic. See, I was gonna ask you your opinion on it because somebody was like, people being able to send messages anonymously is what's wrong with dating these days, and I was just like, it's a fun game. People are having fun. I don't know if I would have called it romantic. It was flattering.
I think it's romantic.
So that's romantic to you. So if someone did that for you, and then like months later you found out who it was, you'd be like, oh, that's so romantic. Like you go out with them, like based off that.
No, not based off that. No, but I think it's very sweet. It's like it touches my heart.
My biggest thing,
compliment, especially like women in sports. So it is a big compliment to when someone kind of attaches you with knowing your stuff, and then he kind of said like that would be the sexiest thing ever. It's like
true. The thing that I said to my friend who said that this is what's wrong with dating, I said, you know what? I don't know if I'll ever find out who this person is. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is like sometimes you just want to hear out loud that people think of you that way. Because it's like, I can walk around all day thinking I'm the shit, thinking I look good, think I'm sexy, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's different when somebody else says it about you. Mm-hmm. Like, can you relate to that? Like, does that make sense?
Like hearing compliments?
Yeah, like getting a compliment is a different experience than you believing in yourself. And getting compliments does matter. Like, it does feel good to get compliments, even if you already,
already know it.
Yeah, even if you already think good things about yourself.
I like compliments.
Yeah, I'm just like, and I guess as a person who, well, I won't say,
for example, if you're like, I'm really good at talking about the Cowboys. You know that, and you can walk in that. But if somebody, like a guy gives you a compliment or whatever, like, oh, you're really good at that, I find it attractive, then it kind of just feels a little better.
Yeah. And I mean, not only that, but like, even getting compliments from your friends is different than getting a compliment from like someone who finds you attractive, like in that way.
Oh, yeah, because then, well, I will say if you are attracted to that person. Because me, I mean, I appreciate all compliments, but then like if you're attracted to the person, it amplifies it. Like, oh my gosh, you think I'm cute too? Or like, do you like this too? How do y'all feel about compliments?
Yeah, comment in the chat how y'all feel about compliments.
Y'all feel about compliments? Because recently,
it is all guys in the chat.
I've been told, well, guys and ladies, I'm sorry, I'm not excluding anybody. Everybody.
I think there might be one woman in the chat right now, maybe two. But go ahead.
I didn't realize women were as bold as I've been hearing lately. Like that women actually approach guys more often than not and are really like aggressive in the dating sense or complimentary statements and just in that whole thing in general. I'm like, what? I would never. And that's just because I may not seem like it, but I am shy sometimes. So I wouldn't see myself walking up to a guy and be like, oh my gosh, you're so attractive.
Well, I'll say two things about that. Sometimes guys are also shy. So there's that. Mm-hmm. Also, I think in a lot of situations, women are finding that they have to be more aggressive because there are so many things that work against men now in society who are aggressive, especially if it goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of women have just adapted. Like,
you're right.
I was talking to my homeboy. Like, most of the time, if y'all hear me say I was having a conversation with a homie or with a friend, it's a guy. Because I have a lot of male friends who I talk to. Like, usually when I'm on the phone, it's with a guy. So I was talking to my homeboy, and I was talking about just like what we've talked about, like just how hard it has been dating here. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, you might have to go back to being the aggressor. And he said, go back because like when I was younger, I was the aggressor a lot, but that was when I didn't really care. Like dating was like a game to me. Mm-hmm. But now I'm looking for something like, not that it has to be serious, but it's not so much a game as it used to be. Mm-hmm. You know, there was definitely a time where I would talk to people I didn't even necessarily like just because they were cute or whatever, just to see if I could get at them. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that shit anymore. Like if I approach someone, I am actually interested in some sense. Yeah. Even if it's not necessarily it takes a lot for me to want an actual relationship with someone. I haven't actually been in a lot of relationships in my adult life.
Mhm.
Like there haven't been a lot of people who I can call like my boyfriend, right? But I do appreciate consistent companionship.
Mhm.
I do appreciate meaningful interactions, whether you want to call it a friendship, relationship, whatever.
Mhm.
And so he was like, yeah, you might have to go back to being the aggressor because just a lot of us, referring to me, he was like, a lot of us are just like, you know, not only like already a little bit shy, but we're outright just nervous about what could happen if
I
things don't go well.
blame that part. I blame social media for that part because there was a point in time where guys did feel comfortable approaching women, and that was the norm. I do feel like now that is not the norm, and I say social media, and not wholly to blame, but a big part of it because at one point there was this exposed culture. And women were exposing messages and DMs
Oh, that
from
still
men,
happens.
calling them losers or, oh, look at him, look who wrote me. There was no sense of privacy, so it turned into, I'm not writing her.
That is true, and I still see that honestly, and I don't get it. I've
Speak in
seen
code now. They'll speak in like example,
which I don't.
someone will write you and it'll be like, instead of, hey, you look nice today, like what are you up to? Are you single? Instead it'll be like, nice top. It's like, can you just
But
girl,
girl, here's my problem though. I do not detect hints at all. Like if you approach me and you're trying to give me a hint that you like me.
Me too. And people will be like, Candace, you don't notice, like, or you didn't see it. And I'm like, no. Or you don't think this person. I'm like, no,
the only hint that I kind of get is like personal space. Because that's one thing that I've learned is that like if a guy is like comfortable with me being in his personal space, that usually means something.
Yeah.
But as far as just like giving me random compliments, like, oh, I saw your last live stream. It was really good. I'm not gonna think you like me.
I want you to actually go into my messages on Instagram or Twitter or wherever and say,
like
hey,
instruction manual.
Candace, like all of the like heart eyes and all that. It's like, oh, excellent. But
even
that's
things
not
like,
gonna prompt me to be like, hey, why are you heart eyeing my picture? Do you like me? No, I want you to go into my messages and say, hey, are you single?
No, but and
I would like to take you out sometimes. That's it. That's all, guys. That's all you have to do. If you need a little tip about how to approach women, I think that's an acceptable.
But here's a drawback for me. Because I've had so many male friends and even just hanging out with my brothers or my male cousins, I'm so used to hanging out with guys that if you're like, you want to go to a movie? Okay. And I won't think nothing of it. I won't call it a date unless you know,
really?
Unless you let me know it's a date.
See, I'm
like
too
if
shy
you don't
to even say yes to you without thinking that it's a date.
See, no, I'm too used to hanging out with dudes. Like if I were to go to Memphis right now, my homie Denzel would be like, let's go to dinner. And it would just be a dinner. We would laugh, talk, maybe have a couple drinks, and it wouldn't mean anything. Like when I go home, my brothers, like I go out to drink with my brothers or we'll drink at the house. So it's like things like inviting me out for drinks, going to the movies with me. I'm so used to doing it with guys anyway that it literally means nothing. It's like you are going to have to tell me like, I want to take you on a date. Don't say I want to take you to the movies. Don't say let's go out for drinks. You can't even be like, let's watch the game. Like, I want to take you on a date. I need to hear those words.
Really?
Yes. Otherwise, I'm just like, yeah, I'm kicking it. I've just made another male friend. Like, whatever. We kicking it. We gonna go to the bar. We're gonna have some drinks. We're gonna watch the game.
I really don't have a lot of male friends.
And maybe that's the difference.
I would like to actually have male friends, but then it always
male friends are the
weird.
dopest. It does turn weird sometimes. Well, actually, I can't remember the last time it turned. I'm gonna say this. Since I moved here, I've been hit on by more women than men. I've been asked out by one guy, and he was in high school, girl.
We're gonna cut it right there.
No, he was 18. That was the funny part, because like in his profile picture, he had on a suit and everything. So we're talking, and then he said something about like studying. And I was trying to figure out like what kind of school he was in. I was like, so what are you doing after school? And he's like, I got accepted to UNT, so I'll still be around this summer. And I was like, accepted to UNT? And I was like, are you in high school? And he was like, yeah, but I'm 18, so I'm not ridiculously young. And I was like, well, not to you, motherfucker, because it's October. You one of the oldest people in your high school.
I would have been like, and blocked. And blocked. You are not
But
me.
here's why I didn't just block him. Because I was like, he's 18. This might be one of the first times he's ever tried to approach a woman. I didn't want it to be a negative experience for him. And he did it respectfully. He was respectful. He was nice. The conversation was cool. So I didn't want there to be negative reinforcement to where he started thinking bad things about approaching or interacting with women.
Sweet of you.
So I was respectful, but I
walking.
did kind of have to let him know that, like, that was just
okay.
like, it was too much of an
like,
age difference.
You know that I'm clearly not in high school.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Like, even if 18
college,
even if 18 is legal, I can't be dating somebody who's still in high school.
No.
And I, like, even if he was in college, I wouldn't date somebody who's 18. Like, no. Anyway,
we do not approve. We do not approve. No.
This podcast is taking a turn.
Don't do that again. That is not acceptable. You are a child still. Stay in child's place. But that was a very sweet way of you, for you to not want to make it a negative experience.
Yeah, no, I did not want it to be a negative experience.
You are a kid. Where's your mother? Let me talk to her. Make sure everything is okay. Tell her you tricked me, baby.
JV said, "Jazz, are you 22 yet?" Nigga, quit playing. Sorry, I can't say that on YouTube. But I just lost my monetization.
Dang it, Jazz.
On this episode. Well, no, I think because I just said it once. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
No, I thought you said Sligga.
Like, I said nickel, like nickel back.
Yeah,
yes.
Nickelback, because we were talking about.
We don't have to explain it. I said nickel. It's fine.
I'll go.
Chris said, "I have a test for you. These guys you think are just your friends. Tell them you really like them and watch how that goes." Okay, so the homie Denzel, we've been friends for over 10 years, and we actually met through a guy that I used to date. So I know that there's nothing happening there.
Welcome to the dating side of the bar.
Good night. I love weed.
Talk about this with us. You say you're like a grandpa. You can give us some seasoned advice.
Nah, it's all good. And most of my male friends don't even live here. They're not friends that I made here. Now, the guy friends that I do have here, those relationships are still growing. So I don't know. Like, I consider Law a friend, but Law's never made a pass at me like that. So just an example. I'm trying to think. I do have other male friends, but nobody who I have permission to talk about on the stream. So I'm going to just leave that alone. Anyway, I was pulling up some insights about the Bengals game.
I have permission to talk about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's 11:30 for I Love Weed. Well, I Love Weed, have a good night, and you have a good day tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your week, and maybe we'll see you next week. Because somebody said we need to go live more often. I think it was Chris, and I think JV agreed. I don't remember. Yeah, we might do that. Because we both need to make more content. So might as well just kill two birds, one stone, do it together.
Yes.
I will bring y'all more Cowboys and dating content.
We're both here in Dallas now.
Okay.
I moved. We're here.
So Trey Hendrickson generated 7 pressures and a sack on 31 pass rushes in week 14. His 9th game this season with at least 5 pressures. I'll forget you. Rico Dowdle. Oh my God, what a game he had.
We didn't even talk about Rico Dowdle.
Well, we're about to talk about him now.
We are gonna. What did he? I think he averaged like 7.3 yards per carry last game.
Rico Dowdle rushed 18 times for 131 yards, generating plus 41 rushing yards over expected. It is Dowdle's second straight game with at least 40 plus rushing yards over expected. Prior to week 13, his career high was 14 rushing yards over expected. So I don't know why it doesn't have his average here, but it was 131 yards, 18 carries. I know at least at some point during the game, he was 7 point something yards per carry. Because I referenced, remember last season when CeeDee had like a really good game and the next day he got a letter saying he was being drug tested?
Yes.
I was like, if Rico keeps this up, he gonna get a letter. And I would not be surprised if he got a letter today.
And that is fine. Yep, 7.3.
7.3 yards per carry yesterday, y'all. Now, we do have to put it in the context of, even though the Bengals won, we can't forget that their defense is typically not that great.
But Rico
Albert
is
said, "Girls
good.
talk, boys talk." Literally. But no,
But he's that.
Rico killed
I
it.
guess I'm just excited to finally see some consistency in the run game because I think they've just been trying to figure it out all season and who gets this amount of carries, who gets this, what are we gonna do? And I'm like,
I do wish they had gotten to this point earlier in the season, and I feel like they could have.
It was trial and error,
It was trial and error, but
like, stop it.
Anecdotally, based on a lot of the observations from people who might have better information than you or I, there was also politics that came into play. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of love for Zeke and what he's brought to the game. However, you can't use past resumes on a current season. It won't get you anywhere. Like, you don't get bonus points for having somebody with a good reputation on the field. What you need is people who are producing now. And Rico Dowdle showed very early on. Rico Dowdle showed as early as training camp that he should have been RB1. The fact that the Cowboys came into this season doing this whole running back by committee thing was ridiculous.
And I think they just did not have a for sure plan for the running backs. And we've absolutely
they didn't have a for sure plan because they were trying to do the committee thing.
I just don't know why they didn't go to. If you want Zeke and you want Dowdle, why did you not? And to me, Rico is a bit of Pollard and Zeke mixed together, but I'll say better. When we had Zeke and we had Pollard, they effectively used both of them in the game, and they were able to coexist beautifully. But the Cowboys did not figure that out this season. It just looked like, we're just going to try this. All right, we're going to try this with you. It was not catered to each of their strengths. Not anytime, but like at the beginning of the season, it was definitely like trial and error. Like,
no, there were a lot of things that could have gone differently in terms of blocking assignments, in terms of just plays, in terms of scheme that could have helped both of them do better. But I still think that it was obvious very early that Rico should have been RB1. And I think had they leaned into that early, because it's not even like they were getting the required number of carries and not doing well enough. They weren't even given that many opportunities. You had games where Dak was out there passing damn near 50 times.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's ridiculous. And it's like other teams, for example, like if you look at Saquon Barkley's numbers, or who was somebody else that we faced. Anyway, there's a couple of running backs in this league who are known for being very good running backs, that if you actually were to look at what they do carry by carry, it's not that they're actually getting 4 yards or more on every single carry. It's that their teams are so committed to the run that you might see 2 yards, 0 yards, -1 yards, 3 yards, then all of a sudden 16. But they're able to get there because of their commitment to the run. So the Cowboys, not only were they trying to make this whole running back by committee thing work, but they also weren't even committing to the run so that it had an opportunity to work. No. So while a lot of fans were like, hey, we want to see more Rico, they were just out there doing stuff that didn't make sense, which once again goes back to what we were saying earlier about Mike McCarthy, and maybe the whole play calling thing needs to be reconsidered.
My thing was, everybody assumed when they brought Zeke back, and I love Zeke, that they were bringing him back because we had issues in the red zone. But when they brought him back, they didn't even use him for that.
Right.
So it's like, you're still using him to try to run up the middle and not get that yardage that
and running up the middle was just not running until recently.
Terribly, yes.
And that was something else.
And they could have used Rico and Zeke in coexistence there. Rico, to me, he has very powerful legs. Use him or Zeke, vice versa, to get up the field and use.
Not only does he have very powerful legs, but with the consistency with which he's being used, he's had the ability to get used to the people that are blocking for him and also be able to adjust his own style to be more effective.
Oh my gosh.
He's way better at getting yards after contact now.
Yes.
You can tell that his vision is better. He is finding the gaps better. His pad level is better. The way that he's running over dudes, all of that has changed, but it's changed because he's gotten so many more opportunities. Yeah, and that's what frustrates me about the fact that we waited until now to give it to him, because he could have been here weeks ago.
And I love that he's a running back. Like I've seen running backs, they get hit and that's it. I'm going down. But he's always, I feel like, looking for the opportunity to just carry that play a few more yards if I can't say it correctly. If he's able to. There was a game, I don't know if it was like 3 games ago, but he was able to he was stopped. But he just spun around them. He saw an opening on the inside, and he does that often. And I love that because to me, that just shows perseverance. Like I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna look for every opportunity, and you're just gonna have to literally lay me down to stop me.
And that's what I mean about his vision getting better. I want to go back to some of these comments that we missed.
And I feel like the Cowboys need that because if we're always running our running backs up the middle and we don't get that much yardage from it, we're going to need a running back in there that can have that upfield vision or have that peripheral vision. Okay, I'm going to try to roll out to the right. I'm going to try to roll out to this side and not just be stuck in the middle.
Yes. So Chris Johnson said Rico's only downside is staying healthy. I'm going to say was. And it's not even that he couldn't stay healthy. It's that he had a bad injury that occurred before anybody could actually see what he was capable of. And that injury sidelined him for a while. But has he actually had a lot of injuries? If you think about it, no. Like, depending on what you want to classify as an injury, he's had like 2. But somehow developed a reputation as hurt guy. And I'm not really sure where that came from, but he doesn't have a history of being injured. No. It's just that at the time when they were expecting to have him, he happened to be injured at that time.
And heck, being honest, half of our roster now has had an injury or so.
Right. And that goes to the point that JV made where he said, that is actually ironic considering the year that this team has had. Is this table made of wood? No more injuries this year. I don't know if any of this wood. It might be plastic. That might be plastic too. I think that's vinyl, but it's the closest thing we got. Let's see. Chris said they're not even giving Dalvin Cook a chance. I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, I feel like they're like, we're finally getting into some groove, and we have no room for error. Room.
Did you see what happened when they put in Zeke against the Bengals? How about no? How about we not doing that?
I didn't say anything.
What? Are you a Zeke fan?
Yes. And I feel like they weren't fair when they brought him in. If they weren't going to use him properly, then I think that they should just have not brought him back and let another team acquire Zeke.
Was another team going to acquire him?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because he ain't even played a year prior. I don't know.
But he came to us and didn't play because everybody's like, where's Zeke? And then there was that statement, we're saving him for later. And it's like, later? What is later? Are we even going to make it to the playoffs? What is later? What are you saving Zeke for? You're saving all. When that statement came out, I thought it was hilarious because I'm like, you're saving all of our running backs for later. There's no set plan for them.
I don't have an answer. You know that part in the Bible where Paul was writing to the Corinthians and he was like, I have no word from the Lord concerning this. I have nothing for you. I have no information. I have nothing.
Just once we have a set run game, I'm happy.
JV said Mike McCarthy pisses me off in every single one of his press conferences saying we need to run the ball more. And ain't he calling the plays? Okay. So that pissed me off too. But I will say this about Mike McCarthy. I don't think he's stupid. I don't think he would have said that for no reason. Like, I don't think he's so stupid that he would say that knowing that he could call the plays. I don't know if he was trying to allude to something or what, but I just feel like
he's done that
there's more behind those statements than just him being like, we need to run the ball more and just not doing it. Whether it's a situational thing or a political thing, I don't know. That was not clear, but I don't think it was as simple as he could have called it and he just didn't. And that actually reminds me of something someone sent me on Blue Sky that I promised them I would respond to. So this is what happened. We were talking about Micah being frustrated about the loss. Mm-hmm. And this person said, let's see if I can pronounce his name, J. Kilkenny, I think is how you say it. He said, I'm not sure why Zimmer refused to have Diggs follow Chase. And I didn't immediately respond, but the question that I asked Zimmer about Diggs, Lewis, and Bland playing, to me, the answer kind of gave us a clue about that. And so I made another post and I responded to him. I said, Zimmer, in so many words, said he wasn't aware Diggs would be playing until 90 minutes before kickoff. He also said it wasn't the plan for him to get so many snaps, but that's how the game unfolded. Somebody else asked him about the snaps. Sounds like he just wasn't in the best place to plan for that or to adjust. So Mr. J. Kilkenny responded and said, maybe I don't understand his take or reasoning, but if I saw their number one is eating like Chase was last night, I'm going to go to my guy and say, look, that's your guy. Shadow him. He's yours all night. If you can't get him, then we'll figure it out with the bracket coverage.
So who was he talking about? He's talking about
he was saying Diggs should have been on Chase. So here's my thing. Here's why I think that didn't happen. And I'm saying this based on what I've heard Zimmer say about his play calling, about the scheme. And I'm also saying this based on what other coaches have just mentioned when it comes to making certain adjustments and certain changes. What I think it was is that it's not as simple as moving Trayvon Diggs somewhere. Because if you notice, and not even just this game, but in most games, Trayvon Diggs is usually in the same part of the field. I think what we were looking at here was a situation where he didn't expect Trayvon Diggs to be playing. Once he found out he put Trayvon Diggs in a familiar position and he was doing well, so he left him there. But moving him somewhere else would have meant also moving other people around. So whereas Trayvon Diggs might have been able to take the instructions, okay, this is your guy, everybody else would have had to adjust around that. Because
it's always taken into account what they practice. If they weren't practicing with Trayvon Diggs back in, hey, you're going to be on Jamar Chase when this game's come and this guy's getting these reps in practice, then it is a little unfair to come into that game and say, hey, we're going to put Diggs on him. And Diggs didn't get those reps.
Exactly.
And also Jamar Chase is just a hell of a player. He's very elusive. So, we could have had Diggs on him and he would have gotten away, from Diggs.
We don't know if that would have been successful.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, if you move one player, like you're at minimum moving two players.
Yeah.
Because if Trayvon Diggs goes somewhere else, then at minimum, he's switching with whoever spot he just moved to. You might be looking at moving three players because you might have to rotate. It might be a situation where because of communication and how they're used to lining things up in practice, that the entire defensive unit needs to be made aware or put on notice if Trayvon Diggs is following Chase. So I think it's easy for fans to look at a situation and be like, this one player should have done this one thing instead of this other thing. But I think when coaches are looking at it, they're considering, can the entire unit adjust around me making this change on the fly? We haven't practiced this. We didn't talk about this prior to this day. Nobody has been prepared for the odds that I might do this. But I'm going to just up and do this and expect everybody to adjust and get it right.
And he's just coming back. So you also have to take into account overexerting your player. You come and bring him back in. You may just automatically set him up for failure.
Yeah.
Why do that? And you don't have to.
So I'm not necessarily saying it's the best thing. I'm not trying to predict what would or would not have happened had he tried to execute something like that.
Yeah.
I'm simply explaining why I think he didn't. I think everything we hear these coaches say about those kinds of adjustments or about what happens when players come back or when they have to make a change suggests that at least they feel like when they make changes like that, it affects every player, and them not being on the same page typically has a detrimental impact on the performance of the team. So they would rather go the less optimal route and keep everybody on the same page than try to do something that they feel like would be significant to stop one player on the offense and get everybody all messed up on the same page, especially considering that the Bengals offense had other weapons. And it's not like if you were to stop Chase, you would have stopped the whole offense.
And you made a good point earlier saying Diggs usually plays on one side of the field.
Right. And I think that's because of simplicity.
Yeah, but also playing softball. People think, outfield, left field, and right field is the same. It's not. If I'm turning to catch a ball over my head, if I'm catching it this way, I have to look over my left shoulder. If I'm catching this way, I'm having to look over my right shoulder. So the fundamentals are different. The preparation is different. So you can't You can, if you're a good player, yes, you can throw me into left and right field, but I still will have to adjust. It's not as simple as you play this position and it's the same on both sides of the field. It's not. The mechanics are different. Looking over your shoulder is different. The preparation is different. The angles that you have to take is different because it's different sides of the field.
Yeah.
And you're using this side.
That's a great point. So in a nutshell, I just think there's more to be taken into consideration. Like changing things like that takes more preparation, more conversations than what a lot of us think it does.
Yeah.
And so that's why Zim, while I was like, yeah, there was a lot of excitement about these three guys playing at the same time, he was like, yeah, sure would have been nice if they could actually build some chemistry together. Like, I was just checking again to see if the press conferences have been posted because I keep referencing them, and I'm just like, that is actually something that I would love to pull up on the screen just so people could like see his facial expression when that happened. But let's keep going. I'm gonna go back down to the bottom now since it seems like a lot of comments came in. Click on that. I'm having the hardest time getting used to your mouse. Okay, we got it. Writer Albert Lanier says, frankly, the Cowboys defense did a good job with the Bengals considering Cincinnati scores usually 30-40. Yeah, that was one of the points that I made early. I 100% agree. Joel Carter says, I think we rushed Diggs back. And like everyone else who was rushed back, he's not performing like we're used to seeing. Yeah. Anytime you rush someone back, and I mean, luckily Diggs hasn't re-injured himself, but like it was expected that he would be out for a few weeks longer than he was out. Yeah. So yeah, I do think that's another factor to take into consideration. There's a lot of things to think about when it comes to how Diggs has been used this season and how his usage affects the rest of the defense and how it affects Zim's play calling. I think somebody said something about Zim, and then we'll move on. Yeah, click on that one. For some reason, when I try to click on the mouse, it's not working. Zim's defense needs pressure up front to help the coverage scheme. Yes, I mean, I don't want to say it as though they're not getting pressure up front because in the past few weeks, they've been doing great at that. But like anytime you have better pressure up front, it's going to help the coverage, right? So it's not even like this is a Zim's defense thing. This is like any defense thing. Like your coverage is going to benefit from having pressure up front. So I'm gonna agree on principle, but I'm not going to apply that as criticism of the current defensive line. All right, let me read a few more of these insights and then we'll get out of here. But thank you. But because we've been going almost 2 hours, so let me read a couple of more of these insights and we'll get out of here. I want to find some good ones about the Cowboys. Okay, here's one.
You hear this?
Sorry, go ahead. And to be fair, Bengals defense did show up to some extent. I couldn't tell if they showed up or if the Cowboys just made them look good. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree. They did show up to an extent. Yeah. But I also think, I mean, we have to remember, and like when I say the Cowboys made them look good, I'm not even trying to say that the Cowboys players like suck, but like it's some backups. Like there's been a musical chairs type situation on the O-line. Like they have not had a lot of consistency. There's been a lot for them to work through. Like I will criticize Chuma Edoga at some point, but I hesitate to just because he hasn't had a lot of time to get in a groove this season. Today during the press conference, Shotty was talking about how when Hoffman, because like BB, like it's not talked about a lot because everybody's talking about Overshown's injury, but BB went out with a concussion. Yes. And so you already had Hoffman in as a backup at guard. So now basically on the fly, I don't know how many reps Hoffman got at center, but now BB's out. Hoffman goes in at center, and now you got TJ Bass at right guard. Just like I can't snap, but just like that. But yeah, it was just like that, right? So yes, the offense did make the Bengals defense look better than they've looked in a while, but there's also several things that you could point to that contributed to that besides what some people might want to say when they're like, oh, this person sucks or that person sucks. It's like, okay, maybe they're not the best tackle in the league, right? but they're also trying to overcome and manage some things on the fly. And I think that should be taken into consideration. So basically what Fossil was saying about AO, I think that's how we should look at the O-line and how they've been doing. Like how Fossil was like, we need to remember that he's human and that they make mistakes and maybe he did this and we got to think about this.
Yes.
Like that applies to our O-line.
Yes.
Because even in situations where the awareness is there, or it could have been there, sometimes it was just like it's a matter of just being in sync, of just a matter of being on the same page and getting the timing right.
Yeah.
So you might know what you need to do, but you might not have the timing exactly right. In AO's case, that was some shit he just didn't need to do.
Wow, I thought he was bringing it in to be like, you know what?
Why would you think that?
I understand a little bit.
Why would you think that? Is that how you feel?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think that he should be like stoned or anything.
Dramatic.
But, you know, it's like,
burn him at the stake.
That was like a bad play. We can't have that happen. And I'm not going to lie. I probably would have been like sat on the bench for the next game for a play like that, but not kicked off the team.
William C. Walker said, I give the O-line more of a pass than AO. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
Why? They're all professionals. They all should be held up to that expectation. I'm just kidding.
Like, don't do this right now.
I'm just kidding.
Micah Parsons has recorded a 19.2% pressure rate this season, the 5th highest among edge rushers with at least 150 pass rushers.
Wait,
and he has a podcast.
And that's what the
yes. Even with being out on them weeks, he's still even with him being out on all these weeks and having a podcast for those people who can't stand it. Micah Parsons has recorded a 19.2% pressure rate this season, the 5th highest among edge rushers with at least 150 pass rushes.
Things we love to hear.
Since returning from IR in week 10, Parsons has averaged a time to pressure of 2.4 seconds and logged 18 quick pressures in 5 games. In contrast, he averaged a time to pressure of 3.05 seconds and registered only 6 quick pressures in his first 4 games this season. Everybody came out kind of slow. Wow. But he out here breaking records.
When I was
and he
more
has
in tune to my stuff. That's an increase. 2.4.
Mm-hmm. That's faster.
Schmoking.
So the Panthers. Might need this podcast. Is about the Panthers, who they're going to be playing on Sunday. The Panthers defense has recorded the lowest pressure rate and the second longest average time to pressure this season. They're one of only 3 teams without a defender producing 30 or more pressures this season. On the other hand, the Cowboys offense has allowed the 7th lowest pressure rate in the league this season.
That concerns
this
me.
Could why?
Because Mike McCarthy is going to think that means that allows more time for Cooper Rush to stay in the pocket and get those throws down. I don't want that to happen. I want to see
I don't think he'll think it. We gonna see Rico Dowdle. And
I do want to see. I'm sorry. I do want to see, our receivers get some love, of course, but I don't know.
I don't think it's gonna make Mike McCarthy take his foot off the gas. What I think this might allow for is some more long developing plays.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Rush just kind of had to rush the ball out. So while he gets a lot of love for his quick passes, getting the ball out quick, a lot of that seems to have to do with him being either nervous or feeling pressured or rushed, right? I think this might be a game where they can experiment with some of their more long developing plays and see what that does in terms of getting the receivers some more yardage. So I think receivers like Kevontae Turpin and like Brandon Cooks could really benefit from that. Even CeeDee Lamb, because like while he does a really good job like being targeted in the middle of the field and getting yak, right? Even him getting the separation that he needs seems to take longer than the time that he typically has before Cooper Rush needs to get the ball out. What's up?
I'm thinking about what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So do we extend? Did I hear you correctly? You said Cooper Rush. Brain fog. Cooper Rush makes those mistakes because he feels like he's in a rush to get the ball out.
No, I was saying his like the quick rate of his passes. Like he's been getting the ball out quick. And a lot of people are like, oh, he's getting the ball out so quick.
Okay.
But it's because I think a lot of times it's because he feels pressured, not because it's actually planned for things to go that way, or that's like the best decision for him to make.
Okay.
And I'm saying if the Panthers defense is not getting pressures on him, if they're not pressuring him, if they're not rushing him, this might be an opportunity for the Cowboys to execute some of the more long developing plays that we haven't really seen in the recent weeks, or that they haven't been able to execute well.
I like how you just turned that into a positive.
I mean, it is a positive, but it's an opportunity for a positive, whether or not it turns out to be positive.
But I think this would be the perfect opportunity for us to see what you're saying. And if we don't, then we may have exposed a bigger problem with the Cowboys.
100%. I think whether or not it turns out to actually be positive will depend on how that execution goes and what the play calling is like. Yeah. So I'm saying the opportunity is there. Based on the numbers, the opportunity should be there. And I'm not saying it has to be all game, every game. Just like, a few more plays than what we normally see. Or better yet, depending on how they feel about the rest of the season, it might be an opportunity to give Trey Lance some reps. Because if we feel like their inability to pressure the quarterback might give Trey Lance a little bit more time to read the field and do what he needs to do in the pocket, maybe it's an opportunity for him to get some opportunities and actually show off what he's capable of at this point.
What I do want our quarterbacks to work on, and I feel like this is a problem for Dak too, Cooper Rush.
JV said executing longer plays with Chumaine Doga at LT. JV, I just said this in consideration of the fact that apparently the Panthers are bad at pressures, at getting pressures. Stop making me sound crazy. It's so rude. Right? Albert Lear said the Panthers nearly beat the Chiefs and got close to the damn Eagles. It's going to be another close game for Dallas. Okay. Look, I appreciate the fact that Cowboys fans are not taking this game lightly. You shouldn't. Because you're right. That game against the Eagles, for most of the game, I thought the Panthers were actually going to win. And I was going to rejoice if that happened. So I get it. I'm strictly talking about numbers. Sometimes time to throw, what you execute can change by like half a second. So I'm not talking about giving Cooper Rush 15 seconds in the pocket. I'm talking about instead of him having 2.5, he has 3.2. Something like that. Just a little bit more time for these guys to run longer routes than what they've been running a few times during the game. Like I said, not the whole game.
If Cooper Rush, I say that like I'm a coach. If he's given that amount of time, I want him to be more efficient.
William C. Walker said,
he doesn't, even if he's not, I want to see Trey Lance get some reps in. Because they're going to have to make a decision at the end of this season anyway.
William C. Walker said, I remember it being said ATL had no pass rush until they played Dallas. Okay, I'll give you that. It does seem like a lot of teams use Dallas as the get-right game. So, whatever. I don't even want to read no more of the Panthers' insights. Because, no. I love you guys.
Stop it.
No, I appreciate them. I appreciate them bringing alternate perspectives to the chat. It makes the show more interesting. It makes for a fun conversation. So, love you guys. Especially JV. JV is one of my day ones. So, much appreciated. JV said, I'm sorry, but I can't get over the Dolphins game last season. I hate to see Chuma Doga on the field. We're moving on.
I would say
we're moving on.
Past, but I don't mind living in the past because at least last season was better.
Hey, it's Law. I said the late night hype 2.0. Is it late night hype? It's only 11 o'clock. It's only 10:56. All right, what else we got about the Panthers? Bryce Young has averaged 7.9 yards per attempt. Yo, against the Eagles, Bryce Young had a pass where he literally jumped to pass the ball. And I'm like, yo, with this kid, the jokes write themselves. He really did that. He jumped to get the ball over the linebackers.
I know you're not watching this possibly, but if you possibly are, don't do that with Micah on the field.
Please do that.
Don't do that.
I would love nothing more than to see Micah Parsons yank him. I would love to see Micah Parsons yank Bryce Young out of the air and slam dunk him into the ground.
And then a ball pops out. It's recovered by Kendricks and
No. We need it to be recovered by Luau. We need somebody fast.
You're right.
I love you,
You're
Kendricks.
right. You're right.
But
you're right.
yeah, if Overshown was on the field, I would have said Overshown.
I
So
know,
it gets
I
recovered
thought
by
about it, and I was
Luau.
like,
It gets so Bryce Young jumps to throw the ball in the air. Doesn't
Micah
work.
just-
Micah slams him into the
Well,
ground.
it doesn't have to be like a, because they're really sensitive about, and understandably, but they're really sensitive about quarterbacks, right?
They are, but see, here's the thing:
So-
because people be trying to hold Micah and they get away with it. He has to do
Micah-
everything with a ferocious approach.
I really am
So
so serious
he's gonna
about
be coming
this.
in hot.
I want Micah to put like spikes under here. And they'll stop that. I want him to get
I don't think
his
that's
jersey
legal.
specially made. And I'm not ones
pretty
that
sure
will
that's
like
not
cut
legal.
their fingers, but it's just gonna hurt you a little bit.
Well, actually,
Because
I'm
since-
saying that's not legal. But for a while, CeeDee was wearing his chains, so I guess they do allow jewelry.
I would have something to where they wouldn't want to ever hold on to me again because they hold the crap out of him. And it's
They
like,
really do. So yeah. Anyway, scenario: Bryce Young jumps in the air to get the ball over the linebackers. It doesn't work.
Micah
Micah
comes
Parsons grabs him,
hungry,
throws
the
him in the
lion
ground.
is ready to eat. He rushes and
No, go
slams
ahead.
him
You're
to
doing
the
a good job of
ground.
describing.
the lion is hungry. He's ready to eat. He approaches the quarterback. He slams him to the ground, and the
And
ball
Bryce Young
pops
fumbles
out,
the ball.
He
Like ball pops
fumbles
out.
it. Who
Man's
gets it?
Foul gets it
and he rushes it to
in for a
the
touchdown.
end zone for
That's-
a Dallas
yes.
Cowboys touchdown.
Yes, defensive TD for the win.
I think they should let us announce it. I think that was pretty good.
That was terrible. But I love your enthusiasm.
Jazz wants to see Micah devour another quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, if he's jumping in the air like that, it's going to happen.
I'm pretty
She
sure
just
Micah.
said 2.5 seconds.
About what?
No, didn't you? Is that what you read? No. Am I thinking of something else?
What?
Well,
His
Micah.
his time to pressure? His time to pressure is 2.4 seconds. Now they be running from him, so his time to sack is completely different. Because they see Micah and then they take off running.
How's
and-
Bryce Wood running? Do we know?
He's okay, but he's still a short guy, so it's like he doesn't run as fast because his
Yeah.
strides aren't as long. Now Osa was a little bit helpful on some of those pursuits. I think if Osa could figure out how to stay a little bit tighter on the pursuit, he could help Micah in a lot of the ways that D-Law used to help Micah. Because like Micah would be coming at them from their left, and they would take off running, and then they would run into D-Law on their right. And yes,
yeah,
it would be hilarious because they'd be running from Micah, and then they'd see D-Law, and you could just
and
see
it's like,
you could see the panic set in. Like fuck, like I forgot this dude was over here. What?
Bryce is no, he's not. He's not. 14.
No, he's not 14.
Please don't tell me that.
He's not 4'10. JV is being ridiculous.
I'm like, don't tell me that.
I think Law said, oh yeah, Law was the one who said late night hype 2.0, and
Hey, Law.
I didn't say hi. I acknowledge the comment, but not the person. Good to see you, Law. Thanks for tuning in. Law Nation Sports. I would say tune in to him, but I'm pretty sure y'all all do. But if you don't, you should.
Yeah, someone's like Law.
Bryce Young has averaged 7.9 yards per attempt and recorded a plus 0.41% completion percentage over expected when under pressure since reclaiming the starting job in week 8. That's right. And he didn't have the starting job for a while. A huge jump. Ha!
No pun intended.
No pun intended. A huge jump from his 3.1 yards per attempt and a negative 12.2% CPOE when under pressure in weeks 1 through 2. Matchup: the Cowboys defense has given up 7.6 yards per attempt to opposing quarterbacks when under pressure this season, third most in the NFL. I'm
It's
gonna
not
say
gonna happen this game.
that takes into account the entire season. That's not just the past few weeks, which the defense has literally transformed over the past few weeks. Osa's doing better with his pressures. Micah has brought a completely new element to the defense. Like honestly, even Kendricks has been looking a little bit better. He's not perfect, but like everybody looks like they stepped up.
And I feel like he's returning a little bit
And-
to that.
And Maris Luafau and that sack yesterday, I was so proud of Maris. Like it was. He has grown, and you know who else has grown? Who we didn't acknowledge today? CeeDee Lamb has grown a lot.
I love CeeDee.
CeeDee Lamb has grown a lot. He has grown in so many ways. At the beginning of the season, I said this might be the year when CeeDee Lamb grows mentally and emotionally, and I do think that's happened. But I think that's also lent itself to him growing as a player.
Yeah.
So last week, I think it was last week.
Too.
I think it was against the Giants. I don't remember what game it was, but it was a game where, I think the ball was intercepted for a second, and it was a time when we would normally see him kind of pout about something that the refs didn't see, and it was almost like he started to for a second, and then he caught himself, and then went and pursued the ball and hit the guy and actually popped the ball out. And I was like, those are the kinds of things that I want to see from CeeDee Lamb. Those are the kinds of things that I've known for a long time he was capable of. But it's one of the things where when people talk about making sure your head stays in the game, that's what they're talking about. Because if you allow yourself to get distracted by like the refs didn't see this, the refs didn't see that, where's my flag? Then you don't take advantage of opportunities like that. But when you are focused on nothing but I need to win, I need to perform well, that's how you make plays like that. And the play that happened this past game, the jet sweep situation, where he just started juking dudes and finding gaps. I was just like,
was amazing. And I kind of was a little sad because I'm like, I wanted to see this all season. I want to see more of this. And I know we will next season, but I just feel a bit robbed of it this season. But
a little bit, but I also think it's something that he had to grow into. I think it's one of those things where it's like, so every year CeeDee Lamb has grown in some way. So his rookie year, he had a big problem with drop passes. He fixed it. His second year, they criticized his route running. They questioned whether or not he could actually be a wide receiver or run. Why can I not talk? It's getting late, y'all. A wide receiver one. He got past it. There was a point at which you had people in the national media, Michael Irvin was on First Take talking about they need to strip him of the number 88, saying he didn't deserve it. That's how bad. That was disrespectful as hell. But that's how bad people were talking about him. And he still stayed the course and still kept growing. And he's gotten better at yak. He's gotten better at run blocking. And now he's gotten to the point where he can line up pretty much anywhere on the field and handle whatever role he's given. And so while it would have been nice to see a lot of that sooner, I do think it's something that he's like following the pattern of everything else that is making him a great player. It's something that he had to grow into. So I think it's happened when it was supposed to happen. And I'm happy that it's happening. Every time he shows new signs of growth, I'm just so excited. Like,
and I feel like it's not
as a long-time CeeDee Lamb fangirl, I'm just like, I love it.
I think, and it's big changes that you see. It's not just like,
it's noticeable. Yeah.
Yes.
It's noticeable.
It's the moments where it's needed.
Yes.
And it's
the kind of changes that would happen that, like, if you were playing an RPG and you're like, you know what, I just defeated a boss, I'm gonna go to the village and upgrade my gear. Like, it's those kind of changes. It's like noticeable. JV said, how long do you believe it will take for the entire offense to learn the new offensive scheme next year under the new play caller we'll be getting? JV, I think that depends. But, like, honestly, that's part of the reason why I want to see Schotty be given a chance, because then that would be fewer things to change all at once. Like, if they were to get a whole new play caller, then Mike McCarthy's got to adjust to that person. Because right now, like, let's be real, it looks like Mike McCarthy is going to be back. So Mike McCarthy would have to adjust to that person. The players would have to adjust to that person. And then that person would also have to adjust to the players. It would be a lot. But with Schottenheimer, what we have is someone who is at least used to the environment, which we know anecdotally, it takes coaches, it takes players time to get used to the environment of the Dallas Cowboys. It's a different kind of team. So Schottenheimer can basically pick up from where they are now and be like, all right, we're going to make a shift and I'm going to take over play calling. So it would be more of a shift, more of an adjustment than an all out, let's just change this all together. You know what I'm saying? William C. Walker said,
when coaches come in, they have to see how much leeway they have.
William C. Walker said, if the Cowboys finish 9-8 or 9-8, 8-9, I think MM is back. I'm okay if he gives up play calling. Same. I would love to see him come back because the players love him and because of what he brings to the table culturally. But
and that's important.
Yeah, I would like to see them do something different from a play calling stance. Okay, it's getting to that point in the night where the air is getting dry and my sinuses hate me.
You haven't sipped your water. I usually don't
I haven't
like
in a while.
drinking water on camera.
You got
thing,
to,
but I'm
especially
like,
this time of year. The air is so dry, so it's like you have to
no.
sip water.
And I'm not
Otherwise,
used to this. Like Galveston
this
is
happens.
the air is way more moist. And sometimes I wake up in the morning like, so I keep water by my bed.
Most
Even
definitely.
more water by my bed now.
Same. I keep this by my bed now.
They said I'll take Mike McCarthy over Kellen Moore.
Oh, 100%.
I will take whoever is going to give us a for sure game plan.
JV said, Jazz, please don't say Mike McCarthy coming back. I can't take watching the ancient routes and lack of running tips when Dak is healthy. But see, JV, that's why we keep saying I think he might come back, but maybe not as the play caller.
But I think it's interesting. It's come up several times where it seems that coaches are alluding to they're not under full control of the play calling when they are, but they aren't.
When we would expect them to be, but they might not be.
Yes. And if we have another coach come in, then will it be the same thing? So
probably.
If that's the case, then does it really matter who we bring in? And if that
Honestly,
is the case, also going to what you said, well, if that's the case and these coaches come in and they're not the ones essentially calling the plays, then we might as well have a coach who actually cares about the players, who actually has turned the culture around, which we know the Cowboys have needed for a while. So if that's the case, then we might need to keep Mike McCarthy.
That's what I've been saying for like 2 weeks. What show did I say it on? I think I said it on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. If y'all follow me on TikTok, I think I posted a clip there where I basically said the same thing. And if you're not following me on TikTok, follow me on TikTok. I'm real close to 500 followers. Like that would be a nice Christmas present to hit 500 followers. What is my it's Bitches Love Sports. Hold on.
Is it the same that's on the screen?
That like no. This?
Let's type.
No, that's my. I love having you here. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna let you type it into the chat. Sorry, I wasn't.
Oh wow.
Once you open TikTok, it just starts playing stuff. It don't really give you an option.
I like that song.
Me too.
Was getting hype on the way here, y'all.
It's at Bitches Love Sports. That's my TikTok. Exactly like it sounds. One word. Bitches Love Sports is my TikTok.
Also, it's spelled out.
Yeah. Completely. But hold on, let me see if I can find the clip where I talked about coming into defense to Mike McCarthy. Let's go ahead and take this. Actually, let's pull it up on here. Go to TikTok. This is gonna be the last thing we do when we get out of here. We've been on here for over 2 hours, y'all.
Wait, it's sending.
Go to TikTok.com or go to TikTok.com/Bitches Love Sports. Do you have to put the @ sign?
Just type it here.
That'll work.
Hold, please.
Okay, now take this link and copy that into the chat first.
Oh, teach me something today.
Okay, so now y'all will have the link to follow me on TikTok. JV said TikTok is better than X. X will pop some crazy stuff on your timeline. Like, whoa. I'm so done with X. Like, I said this earlier. Wait.
Yeah, I need to X out.
Just try again.
Yeah.
So I said this earlier, but I haven't been on Twitter because I can't stand the terms and conditions, and I also can't stand the kind of stuff that's been coming up on my feed. So I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky under Jazz Monet though. So if you and I should probably post this on Twitter at some point just so people know, but like that's where I've been posting. I have not been on X. All right, now go back here. Actually, I'm doing it. I'm like, go back here. Oh wait, that link might not work. Why am I not coming up? Wait.
The automatic lights. Hey, but it looks better. We might stay.
Will you
extra
find
hour.
me
I'm
on here,
just
girl?
kidding. Maybe I have to separate it. Okay, don't use that link. It's spam. I'm just kidding.
I'm like,
We're
why
trying
is
to
this not
find
working?
Jazz's TikTok, but it's not popping up.
That's what it says right there. Bitches love sports. Here, try it again. Am I shadow banned
But
on
do
TikTok?
they love sports? Is that why it's not popping up? Do they not love sports now?
No, we love sports. What the hell?
Oh, I know. Let's try this. My computer's moving so slow. I didn't reload it from work today, and I should have. If this works, drop fire signs in the chat.
I don't think it's gonna work. Go to Google.
Okay. He said TikTok didn't work.
Yes, we know. We're trying to figure it out.
Bear with me. Now I see why you said my computer is difficult.
Okay, so it's not just me. Like, what the hell? So type in. Just.
Are we still streaming?
I think we are.
Oh wait, I think it paused. No.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
So type in TikTok space bitches love sports.
You have reached the research.
Okay,
Oh, here we
click
go.
on that. I don't know why I didn't. Okay, now copy that into the chat. Teamwork. It shouldn't take all that.
But you said this at first, actually. To like, should we put the ad?
Yeah. Okay, so this link should work.
This is it, guys. Like
no.
Michael Jackson's.
We might run out of
last
lights
tour.
here. Yeah, this is definitely going to be it because we're down to one light.
All right, this is us after dark. After dark.
All right, I'm going to show you something. Did I close it?
Yes.
Can you reopen it? Do you have like a reopen tab thing in Safari? Nope, that's not the one. Just type in StreamYard. We're just going to have to go back.
It should pull it back. Reopen.
It's bringing up something else.
Oh my gosh. Is this the one we were on, though? Is this the same?
I'm still hearing us, though. So that window is somewhere.
So I'm wondering.
Did you accidentally separate it?
Mm-mm. Is this it down here? No. You click somewhere over here and then it just... Is this it?
Oh, Lord. Anyway.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're going to go here.
It took 20 minutes, but good job.
Did that really take 20 minutes?
No. Teamwork makes the link work. I love that. That's funny.
Okay. Now we're sharing the screen. And it's this video.
Ew. It was 15. Okay. We'll take that.
Will it not play it?
All right. Well, what else?
Make me log in.
Dak Prescott
Do you even
showing
have a
his new
TikTok?
fans to Mike
Never
McCarthy.
mind.
Let's go ahead and take this.
What do you want fans to know about your belief in Mike McCarthy?
That I believe in
Wait,
him
how do I go
wholeheartedly.
back?
I think he definitely deserves a chance, another
Okay, it's
contract,
playing.
and a chance to.
You just can't hear it.
There was some emotions yesterday.
No, go
from
back. You
Bones
just switched the
John
video.
Fossil, just with the news of Marquise Bell when he went down with a shoulder injury in week 11 against the Texans.
I don't know. I don't know what you did. Close that.
It's just slow.
You need a new computer, girl. Y'all, Candy needs a new computer, and so do
No,
I.
I have all my work stuff, and I just need to delete things because my memory's full, actually.
Okay, go up.
There was some emotions yesterday from Bones John Fossil, just with.
What are you trying to show?
This video, but your computer is lagging so bad. I can't do it.
Manually. I know. I was supposed to restart.
How do I close this?
What do you want fans to know about your belief in Mike McCarthy?
That I believe in him
Girl,
wholeheartedly.
I can't do
I'm not
this.
ready to
Definitely
show it like
deserves
this.
a chance.
Oh,
Here we go.
there's the light.
I'm so done.
It's another contract and a chance to coach this team amongst and kind of, I guess you can say, more influence on his terms. Maybe a good way to say it. But I wholeheartedly believe in him. The guys won a Super Bowl. I know Jerry's attested to that. There's not many guys or coaches who have done that, and to have one that can do it from experience. And I know how valuable he's been for me.
It's something that we haven't heard a lot this season from players in terms of Mike McCarthy as a coach. We've heard, especially Dak, talk about their closeness and the way that Mike McCarthy has been there for him, through these changes in his personal life, becoming a father, so on and so forth. But we haven't heard players speak up and talk about Mike McCarthy as a coach and what that means. A couple of weeks ago, when CeeDee Lamb mentioned that he loved Mike McCarthy, that was the first time all season we'd heard a player even say it. And so I think it was really important for Dak to follow up. So there has been a lot of conversation about moving on from Mike McCarthy. And I understand why from a fan perspective,
I don't do
would
that.
be the
Thanks.
popular opinion. However, when you put that in context and you think about who they'll likely move on to, it's hard to think about someone who's a better fit for the team right now than Mike McCarthy. Because one, just the fact that he's been able to keep these guys invested with everything that's happened this season, not only the losses, but also the injuries, also just all the negative headlines and just drama and mess, if we're being real, that happened earlier this season. The fact that he's been able to keep a healthy enough culture in the locker room to where here they are 5-7, and a lot of, if not all of those guys are still excited to play and still looking forward to something happening this season and still going out there and giving their best. I think that says a lot. And then you also consider the fact that just establishing a culture in an organization where there's such a dominant culture already. Like, let's be real, what Jerry Jones brings to the table as an owner influences everything underneath him. So a lot of coaches are not going to have what it takes to come in and establish a culture underneath something like that. They wouldn't be able to compete. So for him to not only be able to do that, but also do it in a way that prioritizes the mental health and the physical health and just the overall well-being of the players. And it, for the most part, outside of this season and a couple of other unfortunate instances, it doesn't really seem to interfere with who they are as competitors. I think that's special, and I think you're not going to find a lot of people who can do that. So if they can, great. But I think if you were to move on from Mike McCarthy, you would be losing that. And I think that is a lot more important than a lot of people recognize when it comes to how these players will show up and do their job.
All right. Well,
Oh, word.
was dope. Was Dak Prescott.
Okay, so now we can stop sharing that. How do we go back to our screen?
Maybe we can exit out of this.
All right. So on that note, a light just died. The phone's about to die. This light, I'm pretty sure, is going to die soon. We should get out of here. So I'm going to say, make sure that you subscribe to Candy's Locker Room.
Yes.
If they just Google Candy's or Google, if
YouTube.
they look up Candy's Locker Room on YouTube, they'll find it.
Candy's Locker Room or under Candy Lamb. I think it's at Candy Lamb on YouTube and Twitter.
All right. So make sure you subscribe to Candy. If you're not subscribed to me, make sure you're subscribed to me. Make sure you like this video. Share this video. If your name is Kevin Gray, I need to hear from you soon.
Kevin, please. He's going to be like, KG, please go send Jazz a special hello. Because you did not.
If your name is Kevin Gray, I need you to not come on streams where I'm here and just ignore me, sir.
He was working.
I'm very hurt. I'm very hurt. So I'm gonna trust you to handle
I
that.
think the chat just deleted it by accident. He probably said that.
No.
He meant to.
Follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on TikTok. And yeah, Chris Johnson says, please do this again. So if you're watching this and you agree with Chris Johnson that we should do this again, turn those notifications on. Because I'm sure we'll do it again. But the question is when? Because we both have full-time jobs. So we got to find the time when we can find it. But we do appreciate everybody for tuning in and for sticking with us even through all the craziness with trying to find the TikTok. That's how I know y'all really care. So much appreciated. On that note, though, we're going to go ahead and get out of here and get some sleep.
Yes, have a good night.
I'm Jazz Monet.
I'm Candy Lamb.
This is Bitches Love Sports and Candy's Locker Room.
Yes.
And we out.
Bye. We're going to keep smiling until.
Yeah, because your computer lagging, so it's not in the stream.
If we just freeze, then they'll think it's their devices.